I can't stand these women that are such pick-me's. Cooking and cleaning for a man, like, ugh, I can't stand them.
That's how you keep a nigga coming back. You other bitches can't keep a nigga, that's a fact. That's how you keep a nigga coming back. You other bitches can't keep a nigga, that's a fact. Pick me, pick me, pick me, ayy. 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 That's how you keep a nigga coming back. You other bitches can't keep a nigga, that's a fact. That's how you keep a nigga coming back. You other bitches can't keep a nigga, that's a fact. Pick me, pick me, pick me, ayy. 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 Baby girl, I wanna be spoiled, wet, wet. Keep his little hairs coiled, not running low on coconut oil. Crazy for the dick and give me some foil. How you leave your man hungry and horny? His life gonna change if you ever meet Stormy. I like putting niggas that call me they shorty. No time for games, I like them over 40. Call your ass daddy while you hitting that. Twins, baggy jeans, and a fitted hat. Look real street, so here's my math. Don't take too long to enter the shacks. Settle down for some good old D. I find black men without BBC. Risk it all for that big wee-wee. Daddy on his pussy, wee-wee. That's how you keep a nigga coming back. You other bitches can't keep a nigga, that's a fact. That's how you keep a nigga coming back. You other bitches can't keep a nigga, that's a fact. Pick me, pick me, pick me, ayy. 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 That's how you keep a nigga coming back. You other bitches can't keep a nigga, that's a fact. That's how you keep a nigga coming back. You other bitches can't keep a nigga, that's a fact. Pick me, pick me, pick me, ayy. 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 Yeah, I'm a dom, but I can switch. Little spit on me and call me bitch. Black snake moan, keep my fix. Ain't even gotta take off your kicks. Take your man, treat him like no other. Most of y'all can't keep a brother. Can't go back if I'm your lover. The new boo, all under the covers. Take a week for his dick to recover. I'll be finding spots that you couldn't discover. Don't you wish your girlfriend was nasty like me? A big old freak was down your knees. How you on blast like TMZ? Ecstasy like you popped an E. Run your nights you left on E. Make D stiff with double D's. They roll blunts but can't cook right. I can deep throat a can of spray. I'm so deep I take off height. Pussy so tight turn his tip white.
Yeah, that's how you keep a nigga coming back. I teach y'all how to do it, baby, but y'all ain't ready, okay? So just give him over to me. I'll treat him right for you. Hey! Ha! Yeah, 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 yeah.
Welcome to the Game Changer 00100 show. I'm your host, Game Changer, and that was Pick Me from Stormy Maya. She is, well, y'all know I talk about her on the show. She embraced the term pick me as any woman should. Why would a woman be ashamed for wanting to be picked by a man? Those who have problems getting picked will shame others who don't. That is what I like to call haterism, but y'all know how I feel, and y'all know how protective I am about my pick-me's. I said it before, and I say it again. If you ain't pucking pick-me's, you ain't pucking chit. Period. There is nothing better. If a woman doesn't appreciate you, fellas, then you really shouldn't be with her. And if she doesn't work to improve for you, then she's not going to be a good mother, lover, or wife. That's just the situation we find ourselves in. Now, what I found that in our community is we have a different mating strategy. You see, because when you have a isolated mating pool, think of it like a classroom. Okay. And a teacher grades on the curve. A group of students get together and say, you know something, if we all do bad, then we all will do good by the curve. Meaning we all give the same answers to the same test, and the teacher has to pass all of us. Now that works in theories, and it also works if you have very few students in the class. But guess what? There's always going to be that A student that just has to do better, and they're going to set the curve. They're going to set a new standard for the classroom and force the others to improve. In our community, these women who set a new standard of femininity, who set a new standard of beauty, who set a new standard of submission, are shamed for it because they're messing up the curve. They're messing up the curve for Black women, and they are being shamed, ridiculed, called pick me as a pejorative. And to what end? To what end? And that's to make themselves look relatively better. They don't want fellas to get a taste of what it's like to be with a woman or to know that a woman exists that desires your opinion, who values you and what you want from a woman. They don't want you to understand that this exists, because if it did, they know that you would seek it and not settle for less. And unfortunately for those ladies, they are less, and these women don't exist. I have such a woman like that today. Now, I seen her on Dnieka Marie's panel. She is they don't give a certificate for it, but she's a certified trainer. And I would like to say she's a certified pygmy. I guess the sisterhood gave her that certification when they called her that over and over and over again. But, she is valid. She has that check mark next to her name for the pygmy side. She has her own channel. Check it out. And yes, she talks about this subject all the time. How can ladies improve herself to be a better mate for the better man that she seeks? So, Chantelle, you say that you've come to this realization when you were about 27. Am I correct? You're muted.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm
By the way,
sorry.
fellas, she has an accent. Don't get too excited. It's a beautiful accent.
Hi guys. Yes, I came to the realization that my dating life, my dating patterns haven't been going how I desired it to go after I learned about the law of attraction and learning that everything in my life is dependent on the energy, the frequency that I'm putting out. So I look at my dating life and realize that what energy am I putting out to not have a desirable dating life? And that was at 27.
Okay. Law of attraction, is that a book or something like that? Is that something that applies to both men and women? Could you elaborate on that?
Yeah, the law of attraction is a universal law. It's like the law of gravity, whatever goes up comes down. The law of
Mhm.
attraction is whatever vibrational frequency you vibrate at, you attract to you.
Okay, okay. So I'm not familiar with that. I just know what I like. So I do follow the law of attraction.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm pretty sure everyone does.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that guys who are just taking anything as long as it got, two breasts, sometimes even one, do you do you think that they're breaking the law of attraction because they're just accepting, they're not really dealing in standards?
So like you can't break the law of attraction. So think of the law of gravity. You can't break the law of gravity. If you throw something up, it's gonna have to come down. With the
True.
law of attraction, whatever vibrational frequency you vibrate at. So if you are in a negative state constantly, you're gonna attract more negative things to you. But if you're in a positive, uplifting state, then you're gonna attract positive things to you. That's why on my channel I talk a lot about becoming the best version of yourself, so you can start attracting better men to you and not the dusties that these women like to talk about.
Okay. So do the law of attract. I see what you're saying. So dusty
Mhm.
women attract dusty men. That's part of the law of attraction.
Basically, yes. Yeah.
Okay. And prior to 27, what could you tell us more, like what type of men you attracted and what type of men were attracted to you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Because I mean, no matter what, the physical is there. So, a lot of men were going to be attracted to you for that reason alone, I'm sure. Um, but after you've come to a realization, did you attract different types of men? in
Yes.
addition to
So
the ones that you did before? Okay.
yeah. So before I was leading with my masculine energy. So I
Mhm,
was, the independent type. The thing is, when you lead with your independence, you attract people who are dependent on you.
mhm.
So I was attracting very feminine energy men, beta male, who a couple of my exes would be comfortable staying at my apartment. One would drive my car constantly and not put gas in it. Just those characteristics that wouldn't be associated with a masculine energy man. um Once I started leaning more into my feminine energy, learning how to become more feminine, because that's not something we're taught as Black women. We're taught to, be independent, get your degree, don't need a man for anything. Once I started reframing my mind, still holding my independence, but not leading with it, not putting out the energy that I don't need a man, then I started attracting more masculine energy men who will take initiative and who will provide and make sure that I'm safe.
Okay, okay. So you say that not providing, I see what you mean. And it makes perfect sense. I didn't read up on the energy aspect of it, but yes, if you do lead with your education and subsequently your income, you are going to attract men who s- are looking to capitalize off your income. Let's
Exactly,
face
yeah.
it. Like, if you walk up and say, like, because guys do that, like, oh yes, I'm a doctor. So of course you might attract women who are attracted to your wealth, and
Hmm.
that's is different
Hmm.
when guys do it because this is a masculine man who is looking for feminine women. But you're saying that the opposite happened. You're getting guys who are looking for financial support as well as a
Hmm.
lover.
Hmm. I was a masculine energy attracting the feminine energy, so it was just the flip.
Okay. Okay. Now, could you help the younger ladies determine the difference between a young man who is like you, trying to just make his way in the world and may ask for a gallon of gas or two at 20 or so, and a guy who's 35 saying, hey, can I borrow $5?
I mean, everybody's life path is different.
Hmm.
So I think it just depends on the I don't want to say energy, but it depends on the vibe behind it. Only because a man who wants to provide, a man who wants to protect and lead and make sure that everything is okay, is not going to be comfortable with his woman being the main breadwinner, with his woman always being the one who have to make the hard decisions. So if it's a once in a while, we all experience those hard times where if you're with someone in a relationship, hopefully you can ask them for some gas money if you hit some hard times. But it's that comfort level. How comfortable are you with um just depending on me? So I try not to share too much because I don't want to beat the drum of my negative past. But for 2 years I was in a relationship, and every night my ex would be at my apartment, but he would never contribute to a bill. So it's just small things like that.
Okay. Um, do you understand that just like you are being shamed, that the men in the Black community are also being shamed? By contributing to your bills, he would be seen as a trick or things like, for example, I contributed. So I took about 5 years ago, I took a trip to Dominican Republic and met a young lady online before going there. She showed me the ins and outs of her country, things that I wouldn't have seen just simply as a tourist. And she just having her there helped me negotiate things better because when people see foreigners in these countries, you may know this being from Jamaica, they tend to charge them more for things.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, she helped me out with that, saved me a lot of money. And plus, I stayed with her as opposed to a hotel. Now, at the end of this trip, or towards the end of this trip, I noticed that she didn't have a stove. So I bought her a stove for $200, and as thanks for everything that she did. I wouldn't feel right living with somebody and then leaving them in the same position that they were in had I not shown up. So, I contributed to her household, and I've gotten a lot of pushback on that particular thing. This is a man who was providing for somebody who treated him very well, who was very decent to him. And I was called, trick, stove changers. Yeah. Um, somebody said in the chat room, they called it stove gate, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So the negative pushback that I received from that is probably similar to the negative pushback that the gentleman would receive had he paid your bills.
I think that to that some extent, yes, but I think we tend to be too afraid, to be too fear-based, to be labeled as a tricking, or to be labeled as even saying pick me. Um in a situation like yours, she treated you well, and to show appreciation for her services, or for your time in her country, you bought her a stove. In
Mhm.
my situation, staying at my apartment every night for 2 years wouldn't be tricking if you paid one light bill out of the 24 months.
Oh,
um
absolutely.
but we live in a society where men are so guarded. They do not want women to use them. They don't want to run the risk of being used by a gold digger. They're so guarded to the point where they take it to the other extreme.
Exactly, exactly. And it is the other men that, push them in that direction. They push them to that
Hmm.
extreme,
Hmm.
because I didn't see any problem with supporting somebody who I lived with, just
Hmm.
like he shouldn't see a problem with supporting somebody who he lives with,
Hmm.
essentially. So, um, we have to change that dynamic. We have created a culture that makes it unreasonable. It's not reasonably possible for a person to get together under traditional values, because
Hmm.
traditional values would mean that he is a John and she is, essentially a whore.
Hmm.
And that's how we interpret it, but we have to change our interpretations of it. I definitely agree with that.
And it even
So,
ties in. I'm sorry.
no, no, you go, you go.
It even ties into today's topic of being a whole pick me, because when I first learned the term pick me, I thought it was for a woman who was seeking validation from a toxic man, and she would always try her best to show him what she can do to the for the relationship if he would just pick her. Of course, that's a toxic way of trying to convince someone to be with you.
Hmm.
But since I've been doing these videos and hearing these term, like hearing this term in every single of my comment section,
Right.
I started looking more into it, and these females took that term pick me, which is it's appropriate if the young lady is in an abusive relationship, but she's constantly seeking validation from this man to say, hey, pick me. But they took it to another extreme, where the point, if even if the relationship is not toxic, trying to please a man in any way means you're a pick me.
Right. Right. Well, I think that that comes from the belief that all black men are toxic.
Mm,
Therefore, if you are trying to seek the approval of a black man, then you are essentially seeking the approval of a toxic man. Hence, the original definition of pick me.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So yeah, I definitely see why that definition came about. I think I may have caught it at the tail end to where they were just using it as a shaming tool for
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
any exceptional women, any women who quote unquote are breaking the curve, are setting a new curve for femininity, beauty, and submission, things that men
mm-hmm,
desire. So yeah, I mean, it's a shame that, and I honestly don't. I've gotten a lot of flack for letting people like yourself, Jessica X, Melody, and dnieka as well, on my channel, because they're like, this is a man's space, and it's like, no, but we can't create an environment where we allow women like this to be treated in a hostile way. We're
mm-hmm,
asking that these women turn back from their turn or excuse me, step away from their previous social circles, which is toxic, and we're not creating a new one for them that's welcoming. So, I'm definitely an advocate for welcoming pygmies into the fold. So, Zeno says they're acting like he bought her an automatic Krabby Patty grill 5,000. Okay. Uh, I haven't watched SpongeBob in a long time, but I know the reference. Yeah, it was a $200 stove. I stayed there for 4 days. She was very nice. I don't, but yeah. So
and that
everyone,
was
everyone,
nice of you.
yeah. Thank you. Well, I mean, what's the alternative? The alternative would have just left with like nothing, like just left. Like, hey, thanks a lot, and see you next year when I come again. Like, what is? what's the alternative? That I mean, I don't. And that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, not only would that have made me look like a very bad person in her eyes, it would
Mm-hmm.
also all American men, or maybe even more
Mm-hmm.
specifically black men, depending on how she views foreigners. But like, I wouldn't. I just couldn't see myself doing that. I can't just take, especially from a woman. I just can't take from
Mm-hmm.
someone, and not giving in return. So perfect example, right? Perfect example. So as you know, I work in computers. I work in software development. So of course, my neighbor knows this, and he had problems with his computer, and he asked me to come over. Now, my neighbor is my former neighbor was first generation Mexican, so he didn't speak English very well. So his daughter was there, and she was translating, who, of course, is second generation. So helped him with the problem, told him what to do, and everything like that. And he was asking for how does he set up the internet? I said, well, you could just use my Wi-Fi. and he was insisting, because she was interpreting, he was insisting on paying me. I was like, no, it's no big deal, you just use it, because I know you're not going to use it that much you know
Mm-hmm.
he said, no, I got to give you something. He just kept insisting on paying me. But you see, that's what masculinity is. You don't just take something, no matter what it is, and not give in return, especially in front of his daughter. So, we have to redefine masculinity, and, just like our women have to redefine femininity.
And
Our
it's so funny you
Go for
said
it.
that. I'm sorry to cut you off, but
No,
I think femininity is the ability to show appreciation.
right.
And a lot of women who are quick to throw these pick me terms around think that you should never praise a fish for swimming. So you should never show a man appreciation for the small things like opening a car door or buying you flowers because that's what he's supposed to do. So it's that entitlement. They do not know reciprocation.
Exactly. Exactly. And yeah, that's the unfortunate truth of it, and the same as the men, it's like she's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to do this, she's supposed to be a support
Mm-hmm.
system and things like that. So yeah, we have to listen. The feminism thing. Uh Both the men and the women tried something new, and we found that it didn't work. Women, it sounds good on paper. Having an alternative, independence, just in case, because even if every woman was a pick me, there's no guarantee that every woman would be picked. So I get why a group of people would latch onto this, would get the degree just in case, would get the PhD or the master's just in case. I get that, because there's no guarantee that you will get picked. But trust me, if you can get hired, you could get picked. I mean, if you're
Mm-hmm.
picked, if you put the same effort, you will
Yeah.
get it. But that's neither here nor there. It sounds good to have a plan B. It does. For the women, that's a win. For the men, they're like, something? I get the same women that my grandfather got, plus she pays the bills or half the bills or something like that. So I get why the men fall into it too. Like, she'll still
Mm-hmm.
get me a sandwich the same way, and she'll still respect me the same way, and she'll help with the bills. So that's what was sold. But
Mm-hmm.
what came out of it was something completely different, to where the respect wasn't there. She wasn't the same woman that grandma was, and what also came out was, for the women, was you were almost guaranteeing yourself not to get picked. What you were using
Mm-hmm.
as a safety net, you turned into a hammock.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the great divide. So that was realized around Generation X, which is my generation, more or less. I'm closer to millennial, but now we just got to move back. It's like, listen,
Mm-hmm.
we tried something. It was a good idea, and it seemed like it would work. It seemed good on paper, but human nature and both man and woman energy just don't work that way. You can't really ask a woman to climb a corporate ladder and then make you a sandwich.
Mm-hmm.
That's, I mean, don't get me
Mm-hmm.
wrong, there are women that can do that, but generally speaking, it's not really fair to ask such a thing.
And the more she has to lean into her masculine energy, so climbing that corporate ladder requires you to put out your masculine energy in the front line. The more she has to do that in the workplace, the harder it is for her to lean into her feminine energy in the household.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So, it's trust me, it's not the good things. And fellas, I mean, when you take a step back, at what motherhood and wifehood and all of these things are, you really start to see that this is, I'm not going to say it's a full-time job. However, this is something that you would rather have done on a full-time basis, because basically what you're saying is when you ask them to, and I'm not talking that they can't have a job. My grandma had a job. She was a cafeteria lunch lady, you know. So and my other grandmother was a nurse's assistant. So I'm not saying that they can't have work, but do not make it a primary thing. Do not make it a primary thing. You want your wife you want your wife's boss to know that she can leave at any time. You want to make that blatantly clear that if he sneezed the wrong way, she's out. My man got 2 jobs. Or if they say on Chris
I
Rock,
was just about
yeah.
to say that.
No, I
Everybody
mean,
hates Chris.
yeah, everybody hates Chris. She said,
I
you
was
know,
just about to say
she said, my man got 2 jobs. Every
2
job she
jobs.
said, my man got 2 jobs, you know. That's what you want her to
Yeah.
say, you know. And look at the resulting children. I mean, you know, as far as I know, you know, none of the rock kids came out wrong. So, you know, like, and that's the number one focus. The number one focus should not be a career and getting that new Cadillac, you know, because we have 2 incomes, or, you know, now we got 2 kids in a 6-bedroom house because we're both working. You know, I'd rather have 6 kids in a 2-bedroom house than, you know, and knowing that they're taken care of and properly nurtured, you know, than the other way around. So let me see.
And
You,
if I must say, I think women, it's coming from a place of fear that thinking that, okay, if we were supposed to fall back and allow a man to provide 100%, or not pursue our degree or have our plan B, means that we have to put 100% of faith in a man. And unfortunately, many of us were grew up with single parents or moms, didn't have a positive father figure growing up. So the pushback I get from women when I say, hey, stop leading with your independence, men aren't attracted to your independence and success, they're seeing it as, oh, and I get why they call me a pick me, because they're seeing it as, and they say mommy. Hey, good man.
yes.
Mommy is another term, because you're basically telling them, or they think they interpret it as me telling them to, hey, give up your freedom and allow a man to I'm in Jamaica, I'm trying not to say in part, allow a man to not be over you, in basically, in some sense.
Right. Not allow a man to have that type of control. But and you know, ladies, know that it's a sacrifice for the man too. I mean, like, you know, he has to be the one. He has to go in every day. He's not the one to say, you know, I don't have to put up with this. My wife got 2 jobs. He can't say that. I mean, he can't say that. He has to put up with it, you know. I mean, like, there's no way out for him. There's no back door. There's no safety net for him. It's all or nothing, you know. It's kill or die. So Goodman said, for the Pick Me Academy fun and sandwiches. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate you. Okay, so on dnieka's show, you said that in a very different way when you were saying, you said, no man get hard by your degree. And I was cracking up when you said that. I was
Someone actually left a comment. So I
uh-huh.
made a video earlier before I even before I got to 1,000 subscribers. I made a video that, as I mentioned earlier, that I'm sharing my experience. I'm learning as I'm going, and I'm going as I'm learning. And if any of my exes were to watch any of my videos, they would be like, who is this? Because I didn't always think like this. But I
Well, I
shared
think
the
that they would
video.
reapply.
Pardon? Oh.
I think that they would reapply. Like, you know something, we both were young, and you know, I was a different person back then too. I didn't pay any light bills, but but now, you know, I'm older, I'm wiser, you're hotter. Let's work something out.
That's funny. But I did a video when I basically sharing my knowledge, saying that men, especially masculine energy men, feel loved when you're needed. And this whole concept of leading with your degree and trying to prove to the world that you do not need a man for anything is what it's repelling the kind of men that we desire. And I got a lot of clapback from that video. That was actually the first video I got so many hate comments on. And a guy commented and was like, yeah, no man gets hard because you have a degree or from your success. And it's our responsibility. If we know we want that in our life, we need to take a step back and say, okay, what I'm bringing to the table really as valuable as I think it is?
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are you asking me? Is what
Oh,
you're
no,
bringing?
no. I'm just saying that's what women need to start, especially Black women who lead with their independence. This is what they need to start asking themselves, because it's not yielding them the results that they desire.
Now, do you think that because, especially on a master's and PhD level, it took a lot of work, and from the women I talk to, whether it's female friends or family members or what have you, uh, it's very difficult to explain. A lot of them are doing that to seduce. The same reason that men are doing it. They go into university thinking that this will get them a higher caliber man and things like that. And they put in a lot of work. To their credit, they do put in a lot of work towards that. It is very difficult to tell somebody that, listen, the work that you put in is not going to yield you the results that you want. Guys are just as likely to marry a Hooters waitress who follows the principle of femininity and have feminine energy than they are a lawyer. It's unfortunate but true. Doctors aren't necessarily more attracted to women who are doctors, and they don't always marry female doctors. So that realization is a very harsh one. It's a very difficult pill for them to swallow because they put in so much work into it, and they invested their youth. More importantly, do you get could you describe the pushback that you get from that particular cohort?
Yeah, definitely. And the good thing about this, I'm sharing my journey, because I was told to go to school, get an education, and then a good man will come. Because and of course I got that advice from women.
Mhm. A
Because
woman with a man, a good man.
no, no,
Okay.
no, I got that advice from single women. It's so funny, because then the cycle continues.
Uh-huh.
But because we desire success, we desire independence, we desire a man's ability to provide and to lead, we are thinking, okay, because I desire this is what I have to bring to the table. So we are bringing our independence, we're bringing our success, not realizing that the man is a complete opposite. It's the yin to your yang. So
Mhm.
he's attracted to your physical features while you're attracted to his independence. It doesn't mean that you should bring your independence to the table too.
Mhm. And you know what's interesting? When you break the word independence down, it's like it really should be repulsive. I mean, when you really think about it, because why would a dependable man want an independent woman? It's not,
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
independence really implies separation. The history of our country is
Mm-hmm.
independence, and that's separating from another country. Like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't sound appealing at all to an independent, to a dependable man.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to sell you on his dependability, and you're selling your independence.
Mm-hmm.
That's a natural break. And yeah, I've gotten pushback. The most pushback I ever got in my personal life for that was a woman with a anthropology degree, and she didn't know that I was educated also. But she it seemed like she just graduated, and she's like, yeah, high class men want women with degrees. And I was telling her like, no, we like big breasts and big booty and flat stomach, and
Yeah.
she like, and she just kept saying, no, they want to, like,
Yeah.
trust me, this is what we want. I mean, we want a degree if it comes with big breast, flat
Mm-hmm.
stomach, nice booty.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, you can't replace that. You can't replace the two. So yeah, you were definitely right. No man got hard by your degree.
Uh-huh.
So, you also mentioned that a lot of women put in work. They put their best foot forward um, towards their degree, or excuse me, towards their careers,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to improving themselves as improving their feminine energy to attract a proper mate. And you said that the reason for that is because they don't respect Black men. Could you elaborate on that?
There is a pattern of the lack of respect for Black men. Now, I don't want to speak and say all Black women don't respect Black men. Of course,
No,
we're
no, of
not
course not. Yeah.
talking about all, but if you were to look at culturally, and it's funny because a lot of pushback I get is that I'm not American, so I can't talk on these things, but it affects Black people worldwide.
Mhm.
In Jamaica, in the islands, in Europe, everywhere, it's the same pattern. Uh, when you respect someone, personally, in my opinion, when you respect someone, you care about what they want. All right. Um, if a man was to say, or say your boss, or say the job that you're applying to, you look at the job requirements and then you fix your resume you alter your resume to match those job requirements,
Right.
because you want that job. There's some sort of respect that you'll get with that job. If a man is saying, hey, these are my requirements, but you are saying as a woman, no, take me as I am, or you shouldn't require that, or you shouldn't want your woman fit, you shouldn't want big boobs and big butt, that's shallow. it,
Mhm.
it comes from a lack of respect. It comes from a place of a disrespect, because if you respect them, if you respected Black men, you would want to put in a little bit more effort to become suitable for what they want.
If you respected a Black man, you would be a pygmy.
Basically, yes.
Which is why, fellas, if you ain't pucking pygmies, you ain't pucking chit. I don't use the words here, but yeah. I mean, that's why that exists. You're basically dealing
Hmm.
with the women who don't respect you, and you're just exchanging genitalia. At that point,
Hmm.
it's not going to go anywhere. All right.
Yeah.
So Zeno says, we want a degree if that got you the funds to go see Dr. Miami for the Tig old biddies. I like them Tig, but the truth is, I like the pointies. Sometimes I like the pointies. The perkies. It depends. But honestly, if a woman has a feminine energy, then they don't have to be that Tig.
And with more and more, especially that Kevin Samuels video going viral, so many women have been coming out saying, "Oh well, that's shallow. If looks is everything, then that's shallow." But it's like, you can't. You like what you like. Guys like what they like.
Right? Exactly. Exactly. And Melody said, "We love pygmies." Yeah, I mean, yeah. So you're in a different space here because and Melody's been called that as a pejorative as well. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but in this space, no, we have love and respect for the pygmies because we
And we get
understand
picked.
that. Say that again.
We get picked.
Yeah, exactly. For one, you get picked for obvious reasons, and for
Hmm.
two, we're working on proper ways to appreciate pygmies. Because a lot of brothers actually don't know, too, and that's another thing that when you talk about the guy and the light bill and stuff like that, it's like because it's the strange thing is in our community, it's not just the men who shame people who
Hmm.
pay light bills. It's the women, and
Hmm.
women will lose interest. Like we unfortunately live in that time. Like
Hmm.
you pull out your checkbook, or who uses a checkbook, but you pull out your debit card. You pull out your debit card after the meal is done, and you don't know what she's gonna say.
Hmm.
I mean, there was
Hmm.
a time where you just did that because it was the natural thing to do, and the waiter knew that's why he gave you the check. Now he
Hmm.
just put it in the middle, and if you grab for it, she might say, "Oh, you think I can't? I'm an
Hmm.
independent woman."
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
And if you don't grab it for it, she say, "Oh, you're not going to pick up the bill." So
Yeah.
so like these new times created a lot of confusion. So and
Hmm.
I'm not trying to stick up for your ex or anything, but I'm saying that he might have just not known. You know, he might have just not known, like, were you on the independent thing and you wanted to flaunt your independence, meaning that you
Mhm.
would be insulted by, any gesture of masculinity or traditionalism,
Mhm.
or are you, or would you appreciate it and just say thank you?
And I give you that because, as I said, I was leading with my masculine energy so much.
Hmm.
Um, well, I can see that.
Okay. All right. So I want to thank Judge Dre for the Cash App. I appreciate you, brother. I want to thank Kevin for the Cash App as well. I appreciate both of you. Okay, so it's funny that you mentioned foreigners. And foreigners just someone who was from somewhere else, and you just a little background. You were born and raised in Jamaica until you came here at 15, or till you came to Miami in 15, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. So you're getting pushed back because you have an accent and you can't
Mhm.
possibly understand. Very
Mhm.
similar to Jessica X. She gets pushed back because she's British,
Mhm.
as well as being of mixed race descent. So she get pushed back for that. Melody, she gets pushed back as well because she is half Dominican. So you know.
Mhm.
But really, what they're pushing back on, in my opinion, and I'm pretty certain of this, is they're pushing back the message, not where it comes from, not whether it comes from somebody who was born in England or born in Jamaica or born, from a mixed background. No matter what, they're just pushing back on the message. They would not go into your heritage or things like that if you were saying that black men ain't shit and they don't deserve this, and treat them like a rental car. Like they wouldn't be pushing back on it if it wasn't the message. So
Mhm. Mhm.
I wouldn't take that too personally because they're pushing back on you, not or excuse me, they're pushing back on the message, not you.
Mhm.
But the
Mhm.
message is so strong and it's so evident in what we see around us. Um, the old ways isn't working. And I think that that realization has come to a lot of women, a lot of black women,
Mhm.
that the
Mhm.
old ways isn't working. So at this point, they're at a crossroad, and that is, should we try more of the same, which is what the ones who call you pick me are doing,
Mhm.
or should we try something different, something that has proven to work not only in Black history as well as Jamaican history, um,
Mhm.
Black American history, and Black Jamaican history, something that has proven to work then, or should we try to do more of what we have done? So,
Mhm.
yeah, a lot of women are on that crossroad. Now, you mentioned in the back chat that you don't have these talks with your friends who are who you feel are just probably too far gone. They're too far up the corporate ladder and too far away from traditionalism. Do you think that they might benefit from just hearing that other women? I mean, do you think that if it's ever brought up that maybe some of them were like, oh, I was thinking the same thing, but I didn't want to talk to you because of how you were? And do you think that that might be the case?
No, I love my friends.
Okay.
If anyone has ever seen this, but not all my friends are like that. My two closest friends are actually married and they're in their traditional roles. The single ones, however, um, to say this nicely, there and we have had a pattern to be quick to point the blame
Hmm.
on the men when the relationship ends, or if something happens. And I still see that now, with their relationships, them still pointing the blame. So it's to answer your question, where if they're thinking about it but they couldn't come to me because they thought we shared similar beliefs. No, because I took a step back and I self-reflected, and it's everybody's responsibility to take that step back and self-reflect. So me
Okay.
bringing it to them, yes, it might bring awareness, but you're not able to hear what you're not willing to listen to.
Okay. And that makes sense. So you have the channel because those who are willing to listen are going to be those who
Hmm.
also click the button. Now,
I'm not trying to change anybody's mind. I'm with my channel. I'm not trying to convince anybody what way to go. I'm just sharing my story. And if you want to listen, listen.
now, why do you think the other end is so eager to spread their message? Because I call it sisterhood, but the ones who prefer the non-traditional method, they seem very aggressive in spreading their message, but and I understand it's aggression is masculine energy. So if they're in their masculine energy, then of course they're going to be more aggressive in spreading that. So okay, actually I just answered my own question then.
And then also to add on it, it comes from a place of, as I mentioned earlier, hurt. I worked in the foster care system for a while, and the amount of Black children, especially Black women, who have been abused when they were younger, it's heartbreaking. And when you have hurt, anger, pain behind the message, it drives it stirs up that aggression to drive the message more. And this is why I push that I'm doing it. I'm just doing it out of love. I'm sharing my message, so I'm not aggressively pushing it.
Hmm. Right, you're inviting those who are just tired of the old way. Yeah.
But
Now,
all those pain is just, it's like, and it's understandable, but those channels who want to just beat the drum of Black men ain't anything. It's just from a place of hurt.
okay. Okay. So you mentioned the, infamous, viral Kevin Samuels thing. And, I talk about it, I joke about it, but there was a lot of hurt with that. And uh, she did lead with her accomplishments. Her initial question was, how do I tell men that I own my own business, or when do I tell them? Even though she was doing that just so she could tell the men in the audience that she owns her own business. So she, so she was definitely leading with that. Like, how do I tell them I own my own business? I own my own business. I own my own business. I own my own business. So she was definitely leading with that energy, and Kevin Samuels picked up on it, and he just kind of wrote her off as, you're too far gone. You're leading with that energy, and you are of the mindset of, I am more masculine than the men that I attract, and which is consistent with what you were saying before, that masculine women are going to attract feminine men, meaning that that's the type of guys that when you lead with that, they're going to be like, oh, you have your own business, let me get a part of that. That's what I'm more interested in you, and about you. When the energy probably would have been better, and hair maintenance and things like that for her.
And then to add on that, just for anybody, if what you are bringing, the only thing you bring to the table is my degrees, my success, and then the people at the table are saying like, oh, we don't want that though, we already have it, what else do you bring? And there's nothing else for you to bring. Of course you're going to come with anger, hurt, to say, okay, what I'm bringing is not valuable. And that's because a lot of Black women were not raised to learn how to be feminine, to learn how to be a pick me. So we have nothing else to bring to, and I say we because I was included in that, having nothing else to bring to the table but my degree and but my success.
Hmm. Okay. So do you know, I want to talk about the previous generation. So for those of you who don't know about me, my parents divorced when I was 3 years old. I was raised by my father, and I visited my mother's on alternating weekends. So he had custody, and my mom had visitation, which is kind of opposite from what a lot of people go through. But my father fought real hard for that. So there's that. Now, it's very difficult for a woman, and I've seen it with my mother and her friends, to try to gain a relationship after that. So we have a generation of women, primarily in the boomer age, who are just single, and many of them feel, and possibly rightly so, that at anywhere between 55 and 75, it's probably too late to reverse. And what they are also noticing is that younger ladies like yourself are considered to be competition. So, what type of information are you getting from older generations of women who are in this situation? Because I don't think that they can rightly have your best interest at heart. Making you a better, more competitive woman really cuts into their mating pool, because a 60-year-old man would much rather be with a woman in her late 20s or early 30s than my mom. So what I guess, yeah, I kind of jumbled up the question. What type of information, what type of energy are you getting from that generation of women?
Personally, well, my channel is not at a place for me to see the age demographics just yet,
Okay.
but just thinking of it logically, I would exactly what you said. Um, Older generation, especially the single ones who may not have my best interests at heart, because if they did, then they would say, you know, hey, this is the path I went down, try to avoid it as much as possible. But going back to what I said, when you bring in something to the table that's not needed, you feel as though you're trying to push that, kind of that what we talk about on the back end about the colorism stuff, like forcing you into being attracted to me.
Hmm.
It ties in. They are still. I don't want to use jealous. I mean, because I'm coming from a place of love, I would
Competitive.
love to know that everybody. I would love to believe that everybody else is coming from a place of love. Um, but yeah, I can see where, and I've even heard stories of the older women being jealous of their daughters,
Yes.
because you know they didn't get a man, then they're jeopardizing their daughter's relationship and in feeding and telling them what to do, what not to do in that relationship. Um, I was raised to not love a man more than he loves me, or to not you know, to just not be a pick me basically.
Hmm.
I don't think it was from a place of jealousy. I think it was a place of hurt and fear, because my mom got hurt, and because all those women got hurt, they were trying to protect me, and the best way to protect me is to warn me about these toxic men. But unfortunately, they weren't realizing that those toxic men are just a small percentage of men that they were attracting to them.
Hmm. And it unfortunately is an inevitable thing, especially until we collectively get our culture together,
Mm-hmm.
one that promotes, you know, non-toxic men and non-toxic women. Until that, it is going to be an
Mm-hmm.
inevitable part on both sides. On both
Mm-hmm.
sides. I mean, you know, I can teach traditionalism to young men, and you know, and yes, somebody is going to not really respect what you're doing for them. That's
Mm-hmm.
an inevitable part in any culture, but more likely in ours. So Cichlid says, do you see that woman's energy would be better used growing eggplants in her garden? Not talking about you. He's talking about the woman that called Kevin because she had a
Oh,
garden.
oh,
Remember, I have a garden. So
oh my
what
gosh,
do you?
that one.
Yeah,
I
like what do
remember
you have
that
to
one.
offer a man? I have a garden.
The garden.
Like this is, I mean, you know, so there is a lack of understanding from non-pygmies on what men
Mm-hmm,
want, and that's because they don't want to be pygmies. They don't want to, you know, um, they don't want to give that part of themselves. So if you aren't trying to be selected by men, then you're not going to ask what do they want.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
um, sad and unfortunate, but very true. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
so it says, are Jamaicans are as aggressive as they have been advertised? Okay. Um, you're asking
Yes.
about a stereotype.
I mean, and I think a lot of, in reading my comments, I realized that a lot of American men may not know this, but Jamaican women were raised to be aggressive. We were raised to be independent, to be masculine.
Mhm.
We are very masculine. It's a stereotype, but as a culture, the women are very masculine. So I would say, yeah, um, yeah. No, does the media like over exaggerate? Yes, somewhat, but yeah, aggressive. Yeah.
Hmm. So, I thought that I didn't know that that was throughout the Caribbean that this mindset. Because I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
know it's a Western thing, and I know that you know most English-speaking countries, you know, um, behave that way because it comes through the media largely. But I didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know about that stereotype, to be honest, Snuggles. So yeah, thanks for the super chat. So yeah, I guess it's true there. Now, does it work there? Like, what does that force men into feminine behavior? Because I didn't get that reputation for Jamaican men. So what's the
Um, so it's funny enough, we talked about this on a live I was on 2 days ago. Because Jamaica is a third world country, we need our men in the household. So they're two parents household more than they are in the States, because we don't have government assistance. There's no such thing as an independent Black woman in Jamaica, because we need the support, we need the man, but we still do lead with our aggression or masculine energy, which causes the man to kind of just take a back seat in relationship in the household decisions. So I mean, I was born and raised in Jamaica. The father figure that I had in the household was more of like he was hardly there. It was just like anything goes. He pays the bill and then he leaves.
okay? I'm trying to see like how that. I'm trying to picture how that's working, because you're describing a situation where both the men and the female are working under masculine energy, but yet they are together out of necessity.
So one thing I learned with the masculine energy, if there's two masculine, or if there's a woman in her masculine energy and then there's a man in his masculine energy, and they're going at it, the man
Mhm.
in his masculine energy will more than likely take a step back and allow her to be in her masculine energy. So if you've ever, I'm not sure personally if you've ever been in a situation where a woman is all in your face and she's just shouting at you and being aggressive,
I have, yeah.
then you in your masculine energy, you tend to take a step back, because you know what happened if you get too aggressive with a woman, and she can't, like, it's just words. So a masculine energy man tends to take a step back when
True.
dealing with a masculine energy woman.
But that's true. But I mean, I don't stay in those relationships though.
Well, yeah. It's different being in the third world country.
Yeah.
You kind of have no other choice, because if you're to leave, there's not a lot of options. There's no government assistance. There's nothing like that.
Okay. So you just kind of hit me with a bomb, a mental bomb with that, because it makes me think of our own history, and perhaps we were like that for quite some time here in the United States, and these stable relationships that we read about in the past were really just there out of necessity. Both
Mm-hmm.
parties, you know, if given the opportunity, would be apart, and when given the opportunity, were apart. So
Mm-hmm.
like, if there was government assistance, or, if in future generations there would be government assistance in Jamaica, then they might experience the same separation, which I
Mm-hmm.
don't want to see happen anywhere. I don't want anything to go through what the Black American community has went through.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me. So hopefully there's a cultural shift before there's economic support for such a thing. Okay, Snuggle says, I do appreciate your honesty. I don't think a lot of people actually understood that where you were come from. Thank you again. Yeah, thank you for the super chat. And I most certainly didn't understand, because I grew up on the West Coast, so we didn't have many Jamaicans there for one.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just didn't know the stereotype existed.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, that's
And
that's
that's
a
why
interesting thing.
one of the one of the pushback I get from women is, me being Jamaican and not understanding. It's like, what? Because we are aggressive, and we're known, especially if you're in New York, we're known to be, for lack of best, like, easily anger, hot-headed. We're known for that as a Jamaican woman. So seeing these clapback, seeing these pushback, I was shocked.
Okay. I want to read to you a passage from dnieka's book, and I want you to tell me what you think of it.
Mm-hmm.
It says, if you are a woman reading this book, you more than likely view submission as outdated, degraded, unnecessary, belittling term and practice that needs to be done away with forever. You most likely feel as though any woman that is in alliance with being submissive to her man, husband, is either insecure, desperate for love, or completely unaware of her value. In your mind, only a woman that does not respect herself and power as a woman would ever submit to her man. In any capacity, you view submissive women as weak, inferior, that need to get a grip on reality because, after all, no man is worth submitting to, not even your husband. So that's from dnieka's book, Submission is Not the Enemy.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, she is talking about the mindset of the women who are against submission, femininity, just traditional forms of relationship. Would you describe that being the mindset of some, or your previous mindset? Let's start there.
Yes, definitely. Especially with the programming I was raised on. Definitely. Um, it's I've been through a lot in the past couple of years too. I probably should have mentioned I lost my parents, I lost close family members. So there are certain things that I had to go through alone.
Hmm.
Realizing that, damn, I wish I had a man to help me through this, just partnership. Um, I saw a post that said a woman who thinks she doesn't need a man has never experienced one.
Mm,
Thinking that you do not have to submit, or submitting is less than you, is beneath you, is because you've never experienced a real man where you naturally want to submit to.
hmm. Okay, so yeah, wow. So do you think that what some of the women are saying is true, that there isn't an abundance of quote unquote real men to that are worth submission? Do you
Oh
think that there's
no,
some?
I don't agree with
Okay,
that. No.
they just
And
haven't been
that's going
seeking
back,
it because. Oh, go for it.
that's you lining up, as I mentioned, with the law of attraction. You attract who and what you are. So if you've just been surrounding yourself with dusties, you're only going to see dusties, so you're only going to experience dusties. um a perfect example, Les Brown always says 100,000 a year people don't be running around with $20,000 a year people. So if you look around and you see that circle, you see 20,000 a year people, that tells you that, okay, you might not be 100,000 a year people. It's who you are and who you choose to surround yourself with, and that you control.
Okay. Snuggles again. I appreciate you. He says, out of all the islands, which island is known to be the most aggressive of them all? I'll let you have that one.
I can't answer that. I'm not. I mean, Jamaica is the most popular one. Um, but I don't know. I would say Jamaica is known only because it's the most popular one. Or Bob Marley and Usain Bolt, and us just being always um in forefront with our music and stuff. But I don't know. I mean, we all have similar traits though.
Okay. Okay. So hopefully that answers your question. So you were asking me in the back, who do I get the most pushback from, men or women, for my message? I would say that it's different types of pushback, but it's pretty much even. Um,
Mm,
as you described, there are a number of men who like the old ways. They want to live with you for 2 years and not pay a bill. They actually, and believe it or not, that's how they define masculinity. Unfortunate by true, how much they can get from a woman versus how
mm,
much they have given to a woman.
mm,
They think that these behaviors make them a player because
mm,
they didn't have to do anything for the sexual rewards
mm,
that men, who define masculinity in a traditional way, would do, whether they have to
mm,
or not. So I've gotten a lot of pushback from those types. These are the game types, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I've also gotten pushback from the ladies, from the women of the sisterhood, because for one, I discovered their scrolls. For two, I encourage men not to fall for these shaming tactics
mhm,
that they will have for you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And mainly, I get a lot of pushback from women because my message is to demand for men to demand more from both themselves and from their mate. It's
mhm,
really not natural for any man to openly seek a woman who is less pretty than he is handsome. So messages like that, of course, will garner negative pushback from women who don't really rely on her looks to attract a mate. So yeah, I've gotten it from both ends. It's hard to say which is more, because everybody who's been with me for a while know that I've been through a lot in this space from both men and women. Yeah, I'm still trying to balance that scale. It's like teetering, on one, from one to another.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So, as a personal trainer,
Mhm.
would you say that your benefit would increase significantly were women more willing to? And I'm assuming that you're a trainer of women. I looked at some of your videos
Mhm.
and the exercises, the bubble butt exercise and stuff like that, like that's obviously for women. So, do you think that business would and I'm not pocket watching, but do you think that business would increase were the whole pick me thing to take off and,
Um, as in, if the more I grow on YouTube, if it will affect my personal training business
um,
negatively.
not just you, but if the culture were to shift in that direction? I'm picturing like this. I'm picturing you as a physical trainer.
Mhm.
You see a woman who is grotesquely out of shape. And you just give your card and she says, "Oh, I don't need this because, I'm large and in charge, or I'm fat and fine,
Mhm.
or,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
I'm thick, or whatever." Like, is it harder to sell to modern women? I guess do you think it would be easier to say that? Yeah.
I okay, so as I said earlier, you just have to be at a place mentally, woman,
Mhm.
personally, you have to be at a place mentally to want to become the best version of yourself and to want to become who um you have to be to attract the kind of man that you want. And that's why I push that whole law of attraction aspect on my channel, because when you enter a situation as, oh, this is just how I am, take me as I am, then you're not entertaining any room for growth.
Mhm.
So to answer your question, yes, personal training and femininity coaches, therapists, we all need therapists.
Mhm.
Um, that will increase as people become aware and show interest in becoming the best version of themselves. Though the reason to do it, the only reason is just not to get a man, but it's to become the true you, the higher being, your true self that you were created to be. I know for me personally, before I started talking about this stuff specifically on my channel, I was watching a lot of Kevin Samuels, and he started floating around the BMI. And being a personal trainer, I knew what it was, but it was just, yeah, for me, not taking it as seriously, because still having some of that programming where, oh, a man will just accept me for who I am. But once I started hearing these things and actually, finding out what men want, learning these things, I took my health a little more seriously. So it just all depends on how much are you willing to put in to get what you want.
So that's interesting because you say you discovered what men want and stuff like that, but your mindset before was take me as a man should want me for me. I mean,
Mhm.
when you're fit, that's still you. But was
Mm.
that the thinking before that it's not you if you actually work out? I work
Meaning,
out, by the way, and I don't see it that way. Like I don't, like if a woman is into my body, she's not into me for me or something like that. I don't really. I just see it as a part of me. It's the results of my efforts. I mean,
oh,
and if so, and I'm trying to get you at your 26-year-old brain because I want to pick that for a second.
okay. Uh-huh.
Okay, so at your 26-year-old brain, the whole I don't need to work out because I want a man that want me for me.
Mhm.
However, I have a degree, but I want a man to want me for my degree. I'm trying to break down that thinking.
I get what you're saying. So my 26-year-old brain thought that I was the prize in a relationship, as society tells you, You really don't have to do anything. You're the prize, and the right man will just come. Your Prince Charming will just come.
But you got
So
to
my 26-year-old brain was not concerned about doing life for a man or trying to meet a man. It was just doing life, and the right one will just come, not having to become what that right one wants.
But okay, I get that. How does the degree fit into that? Because because that's something that you sell to guys, like a
Yeah.
woman, would use her new fit body, like, so, like, you are doing to improve for a man, but just not in an area that a man wants. So could
Yeah,
you?
because it's the lack of knowledge. It's the lack of
Okay,
knowing what a man wants. So um it's a double, like I get what you're saying, because 26-year-old me didn't really care about what a man want, but 26-year-old me was still going back to get my master's, thinking that that's what a man want. But
right.
as I said earlier, because this is what we want from a relationship, we want the success, we want the independence, we want to make sure, we want to know that the man can provide, then that's what we are bringing to the table. Okay, I have my independence, I have my success, and I can provide for myself, but not actually. So the 26-year-old me that does not care what a man want was not asking the question, is this what the man really want? If you get what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying. Um,
Mm-hmm.
okay, so 26-year-old you, a guy approached you, and like every woman, you want to know what was it about him that attracted, what was it about you that attracted him? Would 26-year-old you rather hear that he was attracted to you physically or your accomplishments?
Good question. I think 26-year-old me would probably be more impressed if he was attracted to my accomplishments, because I worked so hard for them.
Okay. Okay. And 28-year-old you?
28 28 here. I would probably be more, no, my femininity, because I did have to work as hard as I worked for my degree, to reprogram my thinking, to shed everything that I learned from basically birth to up to 26, having to reprogram that. So I would definitely be more impressed that he's interested in my femininity, not so much my body, because that was always here as a trainer, but
No, no, I'm
the new
saying your
skills that I
physical
learned.
appearance, your physical appearance, which is a way of
Um,
saying your femininity.
yeah, and I would be more impressed with him being drawn to my ability to learn what he wants.
Okay. Okay. I think, yeah, I think that what you just described is definitely more in the keep a man category. You know,
Like a pick me.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And by the way, pygmies are adept at keeping men. Any woman with, with two of them and one of those can get a man, but
Mm-hmm,
you know,
mm-hmm,
keeping a man is something, because like I was saying before with the whole Jamaican stereotype, I would just leave. I mean, we're
mm-hmm,
we're not in a country where it's a necessity. Where like if he don't bring home bacon and she don't cook it, you both starve. We're not in
mm-hmm,
that situation, and we'll just leave, and I have. So
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
that's just what men are doing. That's just what men are doing now. So, are you open to answer questions from the chat room, or
Yeah,
bring people
definitely.
on one at a time? Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. I'll bring people in one at a time for Q&A. All right. So put the link out there. All right. It says Snuggle. Oh, he has a lot of questions for you. All right. Let's see. What dishes do you have in your culture that is not naturally healthy for human consumption? Okay.
So it's not the dish itself, but it's how it's prepared. I'm tapping into my personal trainer side now. So a popular dish in our culture is probably curry goat or oxtail. Let's say oxtail, but how it's prepared with all the fat, the oil, and stuff. So oxtail in itself, or curry goat in itself, it's protein. It's a source of protein, but it's how it's prepared. I think, am I answering his question correctly?
Yeah, I mean, he's asking about the food in your culture and what's
Mm-hmm.
unhealthy, and you're saying that the curry goat is being is being prepared in an unhealthy way, culturally
Yeah.
speaking. Yeah.
It's just like chicken. So it's like fried chicken as opposed to grilled chicken. But so there's no food in my culture. If you're referring to like fast food and pizza, we don't really have that. It's not as popular as it's here.
Okay. Jessica says she liked curry goat. I have never had curry goat. I mean, if I
It's,
did, I don't remember.
you would have
So,
remembered.
okay. Okay. I mean, it doesn't. I'm gonna be honest. It doesn't sound good. I mean, maybe because it
Oh
has the word curry in it, and I've actually had curry, and that was awful.
no. Oh, probably it's who prepared it.
Yeah, I had curry at a Indian wedding,
Mm.
and Indian weddings are really long. So um, no, they take all day, unlike ours, where you just it's just like 10 minutes, and you stand up when she walks down, and it's like, do you? But there was a lot of different ceremonies. It was,
Yeah.
and I was standing there like, "Hey, are they married yet?" Like, after one ceremony, they like, "Oh, okay, are they married yet?" And then they would do something else. It's like, Okay,
Hmm.
are they married yet?" And it was like, I think I was there like 6 hours. And then, and it was catered, but the food was awful. So I went to Jack in the Box and came back, and they was still getting married. So
Funny.
it was a trip. But yeah, that's when I had curry. Okay, somebody said Indian curry is very different.
Hmm.
Yeah, maybe I should try it. The best foreign food to me is Ethiopian.
Oh, I don't think I've ever had.
Yeah, they have like these little things called samosas. You eat it with your hand, and yeah, but you get like this bread to wrap it in. The bread's real good. So yeah,
Mhm.
so doesn't look like anybody is coming on to ask any questions. Here, let me put the link out there again. Let's see. Melody says she hasn't eaten red meat in 10 years. So
Oh wow.
yeah.
I'm pescatarian now. It's been 2 years since I haven't had meat either. So
Oh, really?
mhm.
Before Corona, I was doing keto,
Mm.
but you know, um, I should go back now.
Mm.
But pescatarian, that's where you wait. Which one is that?
Only eat seafood.
Oh, okay. Okay, and you are that now?
Yeah.
What are some of the benefits of that, would you say, as a personal trainer, or is that just a lifestyle that you prefer?
Yeah, it was just a personal choice. There was really no health anything to it.
Okay. Okay. So I'm looking at now. I've seen some of your videos,
Hmm.
before this, and like I say, after I seen you on Danica's channel, I decided to reach out to you.
Hmm.
And it seems like lately you've been focusing on the message to the ladies, as far as um, changing your lifestyle.
Hmm.
What would you say is the because it started off, I'm looking back years, and I seen one. I of course clicked the bubble butt one. But so before it seemed like there was a focus on health and nutrition and things like that,
Hmm.
fitness, where now it's more getting a message to women on how to improve themselves to get the man that they want. What would you say that your overall mission statement is right now?
Yeah, that's it. To become the best version of yourself so you can attract better quality men and to just promote black love for better black communities. As I mentioned earlier, I was a foster care case manager.
Hmm.
So I do have a heart, I do have a passion for kids, especially the black ones in the foster care and the foster care system, and to see so many kids being fostered by non-black families only because there's not enough black family unit is heartbreaking. So this is my hope, to just promote more black two-parent household.
More traditional ones at
Hmm.
that, yeah. Um, yeah, I and you also asked me in the back, who's more willing to embrace the, traditional lifestyle?
Hmm.
And I would have to say it's the men.
Hmm.
The men are also more, because it seemed like we were the first to realize the moment, they
Hmm.
started, you know,
No.
getting into getting into our face that, okay,
Mhm.
this new thing isn't working well. Let's go back to the old ways. Even
Mhm.
though many aren't willing to go all the way with it. And what I mean by go all the way with it, it's like, okay, I want to keep the new style of dating, mating, and relating. I don't want to get rid of hookup culture or anything like that, but just I want to keep hookup culture without the attitude or
Mhm.
without the weave or without the,
Mhm.
you know, um, without the fat.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, it's very difficult to have one without the other because when you live in a instant gratification culture, it's the people are going to reflect that. And fake hair is a form of instant gratification, just like you wanting to, Netflix and chill with a different woman every week. That's also a form of instant gratification. So it's going
Mhm.
to reflect in the people. It's just going to. You have to be a long-term man in order for the culture to reflect and attract
Mhm.
long-term women. So I have gotten like a lot of fence riders, and that's because you still want the best of both worlds. Okay.
Mhm.
So, Snuggles, so you have a lot of questions. You could come up. You could definitely come up, but and also subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, definitely. Do you use something called CMOS or bladder whack work or bladder rack or something called Irish moss? Is this
So
like stuff so you could pass a drug test?
no,
Oh,
well, I'm
okay.
not sure about that. But sea moss and Irish moss, I want to say it's different. But yeah, I have heard of it. If you guys familiar with Dr. Sabi,
I've heard the name.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, I've heard. Oh, thank you. I've heard of it. It's good. It apparently has 99 vitamins, so I'm familiar with it. Irish moss is more popular in the islands, though. Sea moss is a little bit more difficult to find.
Okay. What does it do?
It's a natural thing. I don't know. It's one of those
It,
health
it,
conscious
yeah.
gel that it has all the vitamins. It's good for you. It's really
Yeah.
good for you.
You eat it and it's good for you. I got it. That's yeah,
Yeah.
that serves its purpose. Okay. All right. Snuggle. I mean, you could come up. Just come because you have a lot of questions about Jamaican culture. I mean, you don't have to keep giving me money. So, um, what do people in your culture look at when it comes to being pregnant in a relationship and outside of a relationship? In a relationship and outside of a okay, versus I got you. Okay.
Mhm. It's frowned upon. It's just like here where it's frowned upon, but that's because we're more Christian based. There are a lot of churches in Jamaica, but it happens way more often than for it to be frowned upon.
Okay. Okay, so, would you say that was something that was initially frowned upon and now it's more embraced
No,
or
no, it's still frowned
not
upon.
really embraced, but it's just tolerated because, it's like, "Who gonna
Yeah,
check me, boo?" type deal?
yeah. It's like it's the ideal, and I think that's everybody's mindset. The ideal is to have a husband, be married, have your kids, but um, chance more than likely, baby out of wedlock is what's common.
Okay. Now, this isn't a Jamaican thing, but this question has gotten me curious, just amongst women in general, and I've asked this, to women in my personal circle. Is it difficult for women in healthy relationships to maintain a friendship with women who are not?
Um, it depends on the friends because you can have friends who um like as I mentioned, my two closest friends are married. I'm not married. But I'm not there saying, oh yeah, girl, your nigga did this, or you guy did this, or so it depends on the friend. But if it's friends who are helping you to promote cheating, or if he does something, they're giving you the negative, they're always focusing on the negative, then
Mhm.
no. And I know for a lot of men, um you guys look at that. You guys look at the girl you're pursuing girlfriends and see, like, to try to find out their relationship status and their mindset. Because, you know, if you if she hangs out with them too much, then she's going to start getting influenced by them.
Yeah, I have noticed that a lot. I've actually been with pygmies who, because I am a traditional man, and you know, this is a problem that I've had for quite some time now. Because I am a traditional man, I'm a primary provider, and women generally don't have to work. Now they can if they want to. Some of them, you know, will drive Uber or something like that, but or do hair or something, but it's not a necessity. Now, what has happened is that with me, they have a lot of idle time that they use to talk with their friends, and their friends do put negative ideals into their head that wears on my relationship. I notice that a lot. And also one of the things that I notice is that because there's gossip involved with their friends, and it's negative gossip, and there's complaints. In order to have a topic of discussion, they would start an unnecessary argument with me. I have noticed that. So yeah, go for
I
it.
have a question for you, and I have a question for. Oh, let me answer his questions. What's my opinion on using C4? I used to use C4. Of
What is
course,
it?
you know, health wise. Pardon me.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's a pre-workout.
Oh, okay.
It's
I
one of
didn't
the
know if
cheaper
it
options.
was a supplement or if it was a pre-workout routine or.
Oh no, yeah, no, C4 pre-workout. It's one of the cheaper options you can find in your Walmart. But of course, you know, if you're talking health wise, like, no. I mean, get your medical doctor clearance and stuff. But I used to use C4. So if you're just asking for something basic to start, so yeah, I like C4. But the question that I have for you, how do men feel about women who are obsessed with reality TV shows such as Real Housewives and, you know, those drama filled shows?
You know, I looked at that as a huge red flag early in the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that and Medea anything. Of course, this was when Medea was a thing. You know, you ask
Okay.
a woman what type of movie she likes, and she says Medea. It's like that's a
Mm-hmm.
huge red flag. And yeah, those tend to not work out. The ones who like to watch Bad Girls Club, because basically these are women who are creating drama in their lives, you know, for the sake of attention, and they're attracted to that. So yeah, that's a huge red flag. So yeah, if you what, please don't tell me that you watch that stuff.
Oh no, I do not. I do not. But you know, I mentioned a couple of times that I'm learning as I'm going,
Hmm.
and um, I saw in a comment, someone commented on, I think I want to say it was Kevin's video, and he said, you know, a red flag is a woman who is obsessed, and it makes sense because then your drama, you're searching for drama. Those shows only bring drama, but I didn't want to touch on it without actually getting multiple men's opinion.
Yeah, ideally, I mean, so we as men, because we're Melly, I'm gonna mute you because you're echoing a little bit. Okay, we as men are very compromising with women.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on our look. And the more attractive she is, the more compromising we are. So, you know, if an extremely attractive woman was to watch, you know, Real Housewives of something or other, it's like, oh yeah, you'll make excuses for her because like look at her.
Mm-hmm.
But so there is a hot crazy line, and you're messing with that line if you if you
Mm-hmm.
watch reality TV shows. I mean,
Yeah.
don't get me wrong, if you're doing it to like, oh, I can't believe this, but if you're doing it
Yeah.
like you can relate, or you know, you're doing it for entertainment purposes, yeah,
Yeah.
that's I agree with Kevin on that one. I didn't know he said that, but that is definitely a red flag that I've come
Mm-hmm.
across.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would much rather her watch Aisha Curry cooking channel or something like that. Like, why not watch that? Why can't you just watch that instead?
Yeah, I get where you're coming from.
But yeah. Okay, Snuggles again with the Jamaican culture question. Okay, it says, what does your culture think about blacks using the N word? Is it frowned upon, or do they embrace it? Okay, right quick, Snuggles. I promote travel for brothers. And I'm not saying don't ask her, but I'm saying you obviously want to go. Honestly, you obviously want to go, brother. I mean, right now is the best time to get your passport. And I say, especially if you live on the East Coast, you just like a 2 hour trip. I would definitely just take a trip and embrace as much of the culture as you can. That's what I do. I travel, But your answer?
We don't use it a lot, but it's also not frowned upon.
Okay. Do you have an equivalent word that you use in this place?
That is that would be an offensive word. Yes.
That's used as both a pejorative and a term of endearment.
Pardon me?
I said a word that's used as a negative by some and a positive to others. Do you have a similar word? It's a very unique word, and not many exist in other cultures, so I can understand that you don't.
No. I mean, but we do have words that you can use negatively, but not where it has that double meaning.
Okay, got you. Okay, classic Ruby. Yeah, she's Jamaican. She was born and raised there for 15 years, and then she moved to Florida. So Melody, sorry to mute you.
Hi.
All right, what's on your mind? Pick me. You pick me.
Well, I have a few questions for her. My first question is, do you believe colorism exists?
Good question.
Yes, I do believe it exists, but not at the extent where a lot of a lot of us in here, not at the extent where a lot of darker skinned women would like to believe it does. As we were talking back, and I don't like speaking on it because I'm not too much darker skin, so I don't want to speak on it to seem insensitive. But it's might be other contribution, just not your skin tone.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So you're saying that if a woman feels that she's not attractive, it's not necessarily the complexion that they're not attracted to. It might be something else.
Exactly. And I was on King Rich's. He's from
Okay.
London. His live, and he did a thing where the men started commenting dark-skinned celebrities who are attractive, and we had the Gabrielle Union and a lot more.
Amara La Negra is gorgeous.
Yeah, and that one Black Panther woman, she's gorgeous. Can't remember her name.
No, you're talking about Lupita Nyong'o?
Yeah. But when you start throwing out celebrities who guys go crazy over, who are dark skinned, it kind of negates their argument that colorism is a thing, and a dark skinned woman can't get her man, not because of her lack of femininity, but it's because of her skin tone.
Okay. All right, Snuggle.
GC, not to interrupt you, but you missed a super chat from D Quinn. I think if you go up a bit.
Yeah.
And hey, Chantelle.
Hi.
It's good to see you here.
Someone actually mentioned you on my live stream yesterday, so I had made plans to binge watch your videos.
Okay, hopefully you do, because it would be nice to have you over sometime.
Yes,
because it's nice to have other women, especially women with their mind in the right place, to get up and have a discussion. So yeah, hopefully at some time you can come over and we can talk over there.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, DJ Quinn had a really good question. It says, how can a man quickly tell the difference between a true feminine woman and one that is pretending? The truth of the matter is, you use the word quickly, and you can't. There isn't a quick way to tell. When you are a man who carries yourself in a certain way, women who are normally unfeminine will attempt to use feminine approaches to garner your interest. I've gotten it all. They use their interview voices with me, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Sometimes it takes time. sometimes it takes time. I think the most effective woman who did that with me, she was a foster kid too, because her parents, her father wasn't in her life and her mother went to jail. So she was fostered by a very well-to-do family. So she was able to tap into that energy and present that energy to me very well, very well. But she did like reality TV shows. So, like later it came about. Yeah. Unfortunately, D Quinn, time is the
Mhm.
best way to separate a pretender from, the real from the fake.
And
And
if I could,
go for it.
just insert one thing, and as I'm always say, I'm learning as I'm going. One thing I learned about the feminine energy, a feminine woman wants to take the stress away from her man. So she does not want to cause any, you're already a busy man on your purpose, she does not want to cause any additional stress. So that's something you can tell in the early stages too. What's her attention requirement like? Does she like those reality TV shows? Is she addicted to drama? Little stuff, like little red flags you can look for, but you won't be able to tell, especially if she's pretending well in the beginning.
I agree with that. I'd also say one of the best things to do is pay attention not only to what she's saying, but pay attention to her actions, because it's very easy for a woman to say the right things and pretend to be feminine, but look at the way she carries herself. You can't quickly tell by looking into the future. That's harder to do, but you can look at her past. So things like social media, you actually get a good representation of her character. Look at her closest friends and associates. They'll sort of tell you what sort of person she is. So I'd say you can look at things like that, and look at her actions as opposed to her words.
Melody, do you have an answer? Yeah. Okay, so now it's gone. Oh, that was Jessica. Okay, so yeah, do you have an answer, Melody? You're low, but I'll read the question again. It says, how can a man quickly tell the difference between a true feminine woman and one that is pretending?
Actually, it take time. You probably have to, like Jessica, I heard her say, social media, the friends, her family, because family play a big part in it. Like, how's her mom and dad acting? Did she have a father in her life? All that, all those things you have to look at.
Okay. Okay, definitely. Thanks for the super chat, D Quinn. Okay, and Snuggles again. He says, "Is it me or all the ladies on this panel very soft-spoken and mild-mannered?" Yeah, well, I mean, I promote pygmies on this channel, and I think I sent that to you in the email when I asked you to join, right? That I mean, I champion it. I mean, y'all need a space. Y'all basically are refugees from a culture that doesn't, completely embrace you. So we have to create an environment where you feel safe and appreciated. So
I'm
yeah.
gonna go down and I'm gonna come back up because it's static. I want to ask her a couple of more.
Wait. I don't think that's you. I think that's Jessica. Yeah,
No,
Jessica. Could you mute? Did you have something to say? Cause
I'm gonna go down and come back up.
okay.
All right.
Jessica, did you have something? Cause you unmuted.
No, I was muted. You unmuted me just now.
Oh, okay. My mistake. I thought I was putting you on mute. My mistake.
Is the static still there?
It's subtle, but yeah, I could hear it. I think Melody
Okay.
probably thought it was her, but
Okay.
go for it.
No, because she had a bit of like static before. That's why I told her to mute up. But I know my mic is staticky. I don't know what to do about it. This is a new
Okay,
mic as well, but yeah, okay, let me mute up. Zone's giving me a suggestion. Sorry.
okay, all right. Let me bring Melody back in. But yeah, Melody, I don't think it was so much you. Like I do hear something now, but I think you're like shuffling or something. I don't know what that is, but all right. Snuggles again says, "Are women required to be able to cook in your culture? And what are the men required to do for a woman?"
Yes, we're pushed, we're encouraged to learn how to cook, and to do the basic house chores, cook, wash, clean. For men are required to, though we both go out and work 50-50, we both go for the baking. They're required to bring their portion in. Yeah, to contribute to the household. It's frowned upon if the man is just living there and not contributing some financially to the household.
I think that's pretty much true everywhere else. Like a man who's solely dependent on a woman is not really
Yeah.
embraced in any culture other than ours that I can think of. And even then, it's only embraced temporarily. Like the woman do later tend to resist. Listen, if these new relationships worked, then there wouldn't be any. I wouldn't even have a channel. I'm like, okay, we found something new and it works. But these aren't working. They run a life cycle of about 2 years, and then it's on to the next for both, leaving a bunch of bitter and broken people in its wake.
And you said
Both
something earlier.
go
You
go
said
for it.
something earlier that I wanted to touch on. When I brought up that Jamaica being a third world country, so we needed both partners in the household.
Mhm.
America, given the welfare system and women being independent, I see as something positive, because if we, as Black women, if we didn't get our independence and move away, and leading with our masculine energy, we wouldn't be able to see a clear cut of it not working. If in Jamaica, if it stays how it is, and the woman is with her masculine energy, and the man is unable to be his masculine self, it will continue like that until the woman can get her independence, move away, see that she needs the man, and then want to learn how to become more feminine, so she and the man, both her and the man, can live together.
I see what you're saying. So it's an appreciation thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we had to, like, we needed this lesson.
Mm-hmm.
As a
Mm-hmm.
culture, we needed this lesson. It's like, before we were just running on autopilot, we were emancipated, and we was like, okay, let's just take this aspect of the culture, and we never questioned it. Then we would question, like, wait, why am I in this role? Both men and women said, why am I in this role when it's so much
Mm-hmm.
fun individually being in this role? And now we know why. Now we know what happens when we don't do that. So, like, let's not try that again.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
yeah,
and
it's
this is
like,
what I'm hoping to and channels like ours to push, that we do need each other, and each energy is of importance.
hmm true, true. Now, Melody, you said you had several questions, and I apologize that everything went, that we got disrupted. But I appreciate the super chats. But what were your other questions, Melody? You're muted, love, by the way. Okay, Melody's she's still muted. But Jessica, you said you had another question?
So I missed the beginning part of the interview, so I don't know if you've answered this already, but what was it that made you sort of see the error in your ways of how you were acting before, and just what changed your mindset?
Well, there was nothing specific. There was no one thing. There were many things that happened. Noticing that I was constantly repeating relationship patterns that I didn't want, and being attractive and being educated and having my own, but still not having a man that I desired. And then also, I experienced a lot of close family death in my last couple of years, and having to do that on my own, I realized that, hey, it would have been nice if I had a man, if I had a husband. So then that whole mindset where I don't need a man for anything, I started, like, taking a step back and saying, maybe I do need a man, even if it's for shoulders to cry on, or for someone to help me out while I have to make funeral arrangements.
You
Okay,
also
that makes
mentioned
sense. Yeah.
on your show, you mentioned emergency contact.
Oh,
You came
yeah.
across, yeah.
So, and I share a funny story. So I recently moved to Dallas, and I'm dating someone now, but it's not at the point where I would add him as an emergency contact. But I went to sign up for a new gym and they asked me for emergency contact and I had to put a 911 because there is nobody there. So it's just when we say you're dying alone, or couple up, partnership is important. It's not just so you can have a man to have a wedding day or to walk in a white dress, but it's the important life steps. And I've shared how my mom died alone, never married, and didn't have a man by her side, and so many Black women are following that path.
I think it's interesting, your explanation, because I feel like you there being honest, a lot of women will actually be able to relate to what you're saying there, because women do throw out that they're independent. I don't need a man. I'm strong. I'm happy on my own. But what I've always said is that women do have that feeling of loneliness. And there are times when you're on your own and you do want a man there. And so I'm happy that we can be honest and open and say that, because other women will be able to relate. And then listening to your message, they can see, do you know what? She was just like me. She changed. She's on her way to happiness. And they can actually start following what you're saying.
Thank you. And that's why I mean, it's I throw myself under the bus a lot when I share my stories. But as you said, if it's for someone to say, hey, this is the same path I'm going, and if she was able to stop and change, then probably it will work out for me too.
Right, because when you're authentic and you're real, like I said, other people can relate to that and they can see themselves in that situation and then know how to change and move forward. Because if we sit here and act like we were always perfect, people can't relate to that. But then when we do tell the stories of, okay, I felt alone, I felt on my own, even though I was independent, I had my career, I had this, there was still something in me that felt unfulfilled. Women can relate to that.
Thank you.
Now, it's interesting. I apologize, I was on mute, but it's interesting that you both are educated women. It's not like, you are women who are solely need a man for economic reasons or things like that. But and I think that was the conclusion that a lot of women came to when they did this independence movement, because that's what they're independent of. They're independent of men. So as educated women, you've come to the conclusion that even absent the financial necessity, there are other uses for men. Men are still valuable outside of that, and I think that that's something that a lot of women, especially the ones who like, I make six figures, needs to make six figures too, that they really haven't come to yet. What would you say would be the ultimate thing that they should know in order to expedite that conclusion?
As humans, we need each other. It's a defense mechanism to say, I don't need a man for anything, because even back in the day when we had tribes, they wouldn't kill a member of the tribe. They will just let them out, like ostracize them. So we do need each other as humans. It's to just be real with yourself. In order to come to that realization, you need to be real with yourself and identify that this overly independence is just a defense mechanism out of fear of being hurt, and that will only keep you down.
Okay, Jessica, you have anything?
I think the thing that would expedite it the most, I feel, is that if you take away all of the external factors, right? So what the media tells us, what our friends tell us, all of those things, take that away and think about your actual feelings that are coming from inside. Because I feel like when we're feeling like we're strong and independent, that comes from the media. That comes from people outside telling us what we should be. But when you look inside and look at what your body is naturally telling you that you want, that will help you speed up the process, because that's your body knows what is best for you, right? That's what your body is naturally calling out for. And so when you listen to those internal feelings that are saying, do you know what? I am lonely. Do you know what? I do need companionship. Do you know what? I want somebody else in my life because it does make me feel more fulfilled. And that's not a bad thing. I feel like they should listen to that as opposed to external factors.
So, Broke Genius, I appreciate you. You say for the Feminine Refugee Fund. I appreciate you, brother. Thanks. All right. So yeah, now you talked about the media. I do think that that's hyper accelerated in the Black community with movies like Waiting to Exhale, Color Purple, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. They tend to focus on the negatives of traditionalism. Now, both of those both of those movies came out before both of you women were born. So, you were kind of born into a post-Color Purple world. Like, this is the world they were feeding information. I know, Jessica, you're in England and you've probably never seen it, but but you probably have your own similar versions. But they were feeding information to young ladies to work against traditionalism, to work against family and things like that since before you were born. I mean, it is very difficult. Melody, who was on earlier, she's probably having trouble with her phone. She doesn't watch TV at all, and that's probably, why she has a different outcome. But basically what's going on is the message of society is far different than nature. Like nature is telling you to do one thing while society is telling you to do another, but you're a part of society more than you are nature. You've seen more buildings than trees if you live in London, So how would you get, okay, here's the thing. It seems as though what you ladies are tasked with, because you both have channels. Yeah, Classic Ruby, come on up. And today would be just like a woman who were born outside of the United States pick me day. So, but yeah, Classic Ruby, she's from Canada. Feel free to come up. So, you ladies have a tough road ahead of you, is what I'm saying, because, just so you know what you're working against a lifetime of media telling you something different. As I'm pretty sure that you've experienced, Chantelle, as well as people who are affected by media telling you different. They're telling you that this is what you should do. There's nothing better than an independent woman. And they will make shows and movies like, hey, look at these 4 women. For whatever reason, it's always 4 women. Look at these 4 single women setting it off. Look at these 4 single women waiting to exhale. Look at these 4 single women living single. Like, but there isn't or having sex in the city. Like, there isn't never, they're selling you on a bizarre fantasy. You had one video, Chantelle, that talked about the fairy tale ending that they're selling. So do you realize the gravity of what you're fighting against, or did you come to realize it once you started the fight? I guess that's my question for both of you.
For me, it was once I started the fight, because as I said, the first video that I got a lot of pushback on was that, we need to learn how to love Black men. I was not expecting so much hate because I was like, what is wrong with that? Like, being innocent, being somebody who just wants to learn how to love Black men, and then to have so many Black women to call me a pick me, say my self-esteem is low, say I don't love myself because I want to learn how to love Black men. That was mind-blowing. So I didn't realize. I mean, I knew that whole strong and independent was going around, but I thought that putting out these videos out here, it would have just have women saying, oh, I never thought about this like that. Let's have healthy discussions, not these name calling insults.
Right. Jessica, you have anything to add?
Not really, just a similar experience, that you don't think that your message would get so much pushback. You don't expect that. But
right, because you're helping in an area that they're having trouble with and that they're asking for help with.
And this is the thing, you're truly giving out a message that if they followed it, they'd be happier. And I know you're not happy because of the way you're reacting to my message. If you were genuinely happy, you wouldn't react so hostile to what I'm saying. So I know you're not happy. I know you're upset. You might be angry at your situation, but the message that I'm giving out, the message that Chantelle was giving out, is to help you move forward, to put you on that path to happiness. And it's like she made a really good point, and I did browse through her channel and I see that she does a lot of stuff about the law of attraction. And when you're in that mindset where you are hostile, you are angry, you are bitter, that's what you're going to attract. And she's given out a message where you can elevate your mindset. And if you elevate your mindset, you elevate what you produce and your results. And I feel that's what she's trying to say, you know, change your mindset, the results change, and you're happier for it.
Okay. Thank you. What do I want to say? Classic Ruby mentioned. Oh no, I wanted to talk about your fairy tale, your Disney video that you did, Chanel. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna give you some pushback on that. I want the Disney movie. I wish that women actually thought like the Disney movie, because it's not, when you look at the Disney movies, it's like the women are waiting for, you know, the proper men, but they are being feminine and waiting for the proper men. You know, these women weren't out, you know, the older Disney ones, you know, now they have like Frost and Milan and stuff like that. And what was the one with the black one?
Princess and the
But
Frog.
yeah, Princess and the Frog. So now we have these, you know, and the one with red hair. So now we have like these action women with swords and stuff like that. I don't want that. I don't want the Wakanda chicks. I want the women who just sit in the tower, growing her hair, waiting for the guy to come up and climb her hair. That's, you know, I want that. I want the ones that, you know, just want to just lie down so pretty that she could pull a prince in her sleep type. You know, I want the ones that are in the cellar like, nah, I got to get to this ball. I got to get that prince, you know. I know how to cook, clean, and I look good in a glass slipper.
Yeah.
We want those, you know. So
That's an interesting perspective I never thought of, and I can see why. But unfortunately, a lot of these modern women aren't those, but they're still wanting Prince Charming, demanding Prince Charming, but they're not what Prince Charming wants.
exactly, we want you to wait in a tower and grow your hair and look in the mirror and stuff. That's what we want. That's who the women with Prince Charming are. Stop leading with your dog grooming business, and you know, start leading with your self grooming business. Like that's what we're really looking for. Melody, your phone working?
A little bit, but I'm gonna ask before it goes out again.
Okay.
All right. So another question to you is: do you being submissive affect your personal life? Like, are your friends and family feminist?
I have some friends who are. Well, backstory. Most of my friends are in Florida. I moved to Dallas last year, so I don't really have a lot of friends here that I would see in person. So most of them I would communicate, you know, social media or over the phone. I have some friends who are very independent. I don't need a man for anything, but I also have some friends who are married, still working, but will still come home and do the traditional stuff. So in terms of pushback in my personal life, I didn't. I actually, my aunt, who I basically raised me, in doing these videos, she was watching these videos and she took a step back and started doing the work in her marriage. And she had shared her stories with me, how her marriage did a full 180. Just by her leaning in her feminine energy. So I didn't get negativity from family and from friends. I just refrained from talking about it with the ones who are feminists.
Okay. All right, that's cool. And then my next question is, what's your take on swirling? Like, do you think Black women are starting to swirl because they are tired of men leaving them to go with more
It's
feminine
funny you
women?
ask. So say that if I think Black men are swirling.
No, do you think Black women are swirling because they feel like the Black men are basically they're going tit for tat with the Black men who's dating outside of their race?
It's funny because I have a live with dnieka tonight about that whole swirling and divesting. I think Black, some, no, not all, of course, not everybody who dates all is coming from this place, but a lot of women, a lot of black women who act as though, oh, I have a non-black man, I hit the jackpot, I accomplished something great. They're doing it from a place of hurt, and instead of stepping back and looking in the mirror, asking why wasn't, and I hate to say it like this because we're all good enough, but instead of asking, why wasn't I good enough for the man to choose me? Why would he choose to date someone else? Instead of doing the inner work, we just, as a group, as a culture, blame men for dating out. And I know I hate to always be bringing up his name, but Kevin did mention that in one of his live that it's, oh, she left. I hope she can still hear me. Kevin had mentioned that in one of his live that it's not your skin color, it's their attitude. And a lot of women are just not open to look in the mirror and say, okay, how did I contribute to this?
I agree there, and I think, like you said, they're not looking inside to think, why are these men choosing somebody else? And then I think a lot of it, like you said, they're hurt. They're hurt that black men are dating out, but they're not sitting back and saying, well, why are they dating out? And then because it hurts them that black men have dated out, they think, okay, I'm going to date out, and then hopefully the black man is going to feel just as hurt as I feel when he dates out. So it's like a tit for tat mentality.
I agree.
Yeah, and it's part of the teaching, like Chanel was saying earlier, or Chantelle was saying earlier, that that you were taught not to love a man more than he loves you. But what if the man was taught that too? Then basically each relationship is really just a competition of who can love the other person the least, which is destined to fail. And what swirling, as Melanie described it, was Melody, excuse me, described it is two parties, and who can make the other one angry the most. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't have any problem, and I think most guys don't really have any problem with just legitimate, natural, interracial dating at all. Just because parents did that, so it's not really a major issue. I have cousins who are with guys who aren't black, both, and I have male cousins who are with women who are not black. It's not really a big thing because it's done out of love or interest in that person, in that individual, not really hate for women or men in their group. I think that as you were saying, that once it becomes an issue, like I want to show this person up, it's really bad, especially when the women do it, because women, you're not supposed to do that. You're not supposed to aggressively seek men. You're the ones who are supposed to be in the tower. So when a guy sees that you're reading a book on how to get at white guys, what does your value become to white guys? Like, I know it's hurting us, I guess, if you think that way, but you're kind of humiliating yourself. Not when it's done naturally, but a guy sees you and likes what he sees and asks for your number. That's one thing, but he sees you reading a book on how to attract them. That's a whole nother thing. That's you're coming off kind of thirsty.
And it's coming from a place of hurt, because what is that relationship like then? Because if you are with this man only because you do not like black men, it's not because you are attracted to him, or it's not because he met you and you're like, hey, why not? But you intentionally seeked out a man that was not black. What's the relationship like?
Yes, exactly. I mean, because you're basically turning hatred for one group into love for another.
Yeah.
I don't see that sustaining. I mean, or if it's sustaining just based on hate, like you tolerate the fact that he farts when he sleeps because you really hate these guys here, then hey, go for it, but I wouldn't recommend it. Okay, so I'm gonna read this and then I'm gonna get to Ruby. We date out because we choose to. SYSBM. Well, okay, here's the thing. And this applies to you too, Trey, and many other SYSBM dudes. And not that I'm against y'all, because I understand y'all, but I don't take y'all entirely seriously. And the reason is because I know as well as you know, as well as you individually knows, because you're with a Black Dominican woman, um, is that when you're faced with a Black pick me, you're not going to say no. Period. You're not. Now, that's not necessarily true for a female swirler, but I mean that is true for a man who's a little disgruntled about the dominant culture of Black women. When you come across one who is legitimately outside of that culture and that pick me is in front of you, you're not going to say no. What you going to do when you can't say no? Like you're not. So
I
that kind
just
of
got
ends
that
that.
reference.
Oh yeah,
That took a minute, but I got it.
Maya.
Yeah.
yeah. Who is also, dang, that was a waste. She married herself. That was a waste.
Oh, she did.
Yeah, she married herself recently. I think she just turned 40 or something, and that's a waste. But that's what that thinking breeds. That's this culture is not good. There's no reason that a woman like Maya, because I've seen her at Howard Homecoming, and she has booty in addition to being like a petite woman, and she has those almond eyes that I like. But yeah, she married herself recently, so that's what the culture would do to a person. So
Yeah.
so Ruby, you know what I want to hear.
Baggage. You
Thank you,
good?
thank you.
You're
Yeah,
welcome. You're welcome.
that is
Hi,
my
everyone.
favorite word in an accent. Baggage. I don't know why.
I don't know. I still don't hear it, but you know what? Maya had to marry herself because the one time I met her, she was a raging, raging witch. Like she has the worst, nastiest attitude.
I
It
heard
was
that.
yeah, it was like 20 years ago, but yeah, nastiest attitude I've ever seen on a star ever. So that's probably why. But I wanted to ask a couple questions because I'm Jamaican Canadian. And so a lot of the differences that I've noticed, people always kind of put it down to culture. But then, you said some things that are a little different than me. So I wanted to ask you kind of a two-part question, and you might have answered it. I'm sorry, I got here late. The first part is I wanted to know if your attitude towards, dating, changing your role in a relationship changed at all after you got to America.
No, it was the same.
It was the same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So then did you notice a difference between, I don't know, I guess maybe the attitudes or the way that men were in America versus the way they were in Jamaica?
It's funny you said that because when I was the 26-year-old self, I always knew that if I was still in Jamaica, I would have been married earlier. And I guess it goes back to, as I mentioned earlier, being a third world country, we kind of need each other for the bills. So we do depend on each other more as opposed to being in the States. So I don't think it's the attitude men have towards me, but it's the attitude I have towards men. If I was in Jamaica, I would definitely not be as successful in my personal trainer career as I am here in the States. So
Right.
I would have probably needed a man more. So I wouldn't have been leading with my independence as much as I was when I was in the States.
Right. Okay. Because like one thing I noticed, for example, so and this might be a Canadian thing. That's why you're never really sure when you're talking to people from a completely different country and culture. But like men here, and this is just men, whether you're dating them or not, if you are a woman and you're with a group of people and there's men, the eldest men inside that group tend to like say pick up lunch for everybody. Like they're the ones who pay for things. They don't want women or the younger people paying for them. Like it's just a natural thing that they do. And then I'll have discussions in this space and people like, oh, that's crazy. I'm not paying for some woman I'm not with or that I'm not married to or whatever. And so I don't know. I guess to me, I've always felt that kind of almost paternalistic or protector kind of thing from all of the men. And our Black culture in Canada is predominantly West Indian and Jamaican. So it's just kind of was always something that put me in that place with men. So it was always different for me.
Do you think it's the culture or the generation, though?
You know what? Probably a little bit. I mean, and I'll say this, first generation, so people who are either born in Jamaica or like me who are first generation are different than people who are third generation. They're much further removed from what I thought was just the Jamaican culture and the, kind of the ideals. Like women just serve the men. Like that's just what we do when there's a family dinner. You make sure all the men are served, you make sure all the elders are served, and then you feed yourself. That's just a normal thing to do. Just like for the men, it's a normal thing to pay. So you're kind of trained up in what your role is from an early age. Whereas in these third and fourth generation people, I think they want to be more westernized. So no, I'm only taking care of, you're right. Yeah, I think the younger they get and the further away they get from having been born in Jamaica, you see a difference there. Okay.
Because I have that same experience, like going out with older guys, like my uncles, for example. If all my friends were out and we're out with an older Jamaican guy, he would take up the tab as opposed to the younger ones. He's only paying for who he came with or himself. So yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
So Trey says, nah, bro, she's white Dominican. No American pick me over here. Los cientos. Okay. I don't know what the last word is. But okay. Then that's more for other brothers. I mean, I'm not with an American pick me either, but that's more for the brothers who want that,
Let me ask a question. Men such as yourself and Trey, do you guys feel there's any hope for American Black women?
I think my generation is pretty much done as a Gen X. I think that we just kind of seen our parents go through divorce, the boomers go through divorce generation and everything, and we just like, okay, I don't know what to do, but I know what not to do. I think that there's hope in future generations, absolutely. But no, I think my generation is, it's pretty much lost. Now, to Trey's point, there are more men seeking pick-me's than there are pick-me's. So I get why some brothers would have to just exit. It's no shade. I mean, find it where you can get it by all means. I mean, like if there's countries where the men aren't, ready to pick up the bill and the women are ready to cook the food, then by all means, but yeah, until we get back in balance, we're gonna have to, do creative things. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't waste my time here if I didn't think that there was any hope. So yeah, there's definitely hope. So I think this was Zone that was asking on behalf of Jerome, but a lot of guys were asking if you had a boyfriend for obvious reasons. They were asking, and you said that you were dating, but it's not really on a put it on the application emergency contact form yet. So is that the answer you want to stick with?
And I mean I get that, especially with after the live with dnieka, I got so many questions, so many DMs.
Right.
I choose not, because I'm not married, so I choose not to put my relationship information out there because anything can happen, and especially getting so much backlash and so much hate. Putting my relationship status out there and then it happens to change. Just imagine what these girls, young women, would do. So I choose not to talk about my relationship status.
Okay, and that makes sense because yeah, for obvious reasons. So hopefully that's the answer that you guys were seeking. I don't know, but yeah. But that just goes to show that pick-me's are appreciated and by men, even though there are some of the mindset of, I'm not going to pay the bill, the 50 cent, you can't get a dollar out of me situation, But to Ruby, I did hear that. My friend's ex-girl, she worked for a radio station, and that was the first thing she said about Maya. Now, I as a guy is going to notice other things, but that was the first thing she said, that she was a B. She was a chib, like more than a little bit. So I
way
thought it
more
was
than a
not
little
envy.
bit.
I thought it was not envy, but apparently it's that's just what people notice about her.
Yeah.
The The only time I seen her in real life was at the Howard Homecoming thing, and yeah, that was around the same time.
No, we saw her at the mall. And we're all excited because, oh my God, she's at, this mall in Mississauga, Ontario, Canada. Like, oh, it's Maya. Yeah, no, that didn't go well. No,
so she's just
not
walking
at
down a
all.
Canadian mall. So yeah. So
Yeah.
ladies, no matter how rich and no matter how rich and pretty you are, you're not above having a decent personality.
But
And
see
it's
now,
so, I'm sorry.
oh, go ahead.
It's so sad that these women would much rather marry themselves than to actually take a look in the mirror and learn what these men want or become a pick me.
Exactly.
Okay,
True.
on to the term pick me, because I do not embrace that title. So I have a question because, see, the term pick me would indicate that you are making these internal and external changes about your behavior and your beliefs and what you do, all to just please a man or get a man. I'm targeting that man. He says he wants this. I'll go pretend to be this to get that man. I mean, that's basically a pick me. Whereas in, it sounds to me like when you were talking about the change that you made an internal change overall, not just to target a man to get a man, but you just realized you needed to overall change you. So I guess that would be my question is, did you make changes that were just directed towards getting a man, or did you make changes overall about, your attitude towards life and people in general?
Yeah, I made changes with everything. Learning the law of attraction and knowing that I control my life based on my thoughts. You attract who and what you are. But then I saw that my relationship patterns were still the same, even though I was becoming the best version of myself. So I used my channel to focus more on dating, but I wasn't changing my life just to get a man. I wanted to become the best version of myself. And it just so happened that that was included.
Do you know what? Just not to jump in there, but I think even if somebody didn't make those changes in themselves to get a man, I don't even think that's a bad thing. I mean, we make changes and improve ourselves to get jobs. We make changes and improve ourselves to get many things in life and things that we know are going to benefit us. So we get educated to get a certain job because we know it's going to benefit us. And if you're making improvements in your lifestyle to get a man, I don't think that's a bad thing. He's going to benefit you. You're going to be happier in the long run. So even if people want to define a pick me by that definition, even then I still don't think it's a bad thing.
Okay, here's why I think it's a bad thing. Because if I am losing weight and taking care of my skin and my hair and how I put myself together just to get a man, then once you've attained that goal, you stop doing those things because your end goal was getting a man. You got a man, you can stop doing all those things, right? And this is where people get bamboozled, right? They think they married someone who's a fitness junkie, who likes to take care of themselves and blah, blah, blah. And as soon as, they signed on the dotted line, they let themselves go. Well, it's because those changes weren't deeper and internal and about being the best version of themselves that they can be. It was all to basically hook a man, right? Put the worm on the hook. That's it. And so that's where my issue comes with the terminology. I mean, because I think there is a difference between women who are being the best version of themselves that they can be and taking care of themselves because they care about themselves and, learning life skills 101 because they don't want to live in filth and they want to be able to cook and blah, blah, blah. And, that gives a benefit to the man. There's a difference between doing that versus playing at all those things for one single goal on the surface.
I get you, but here's the thing. Let's take it back to the job example, okay? So for the first month in that job, you're performing to a certain standard. And then because you've got the job and you feel secure now, you stop doing what the role requirements are for that job. Common sense tells you you're going to end up losing your job. And so I feel like a woman knows that if she had to make those changes to get a man, she's wise enough to know that she has to maintain those changes in order to keep a man. So it's not something that you just do in a short term and then give up. That means your mindset never really changed in the first place. The mindset
Exactly.
has to be a lifestyle change.
And
Exactly.
if I might add, I talk about the pursuit of becoming the best version of yourself. If you're obsessed with that pursuit, if you're obsessed with, because we're always growing as humans, we're always growing. So you'll never become the best version. So if you're obsessed with the pursuit of learning how to love my man in the dating stage, in the engagement stage, in the marriage stage, it's always something more to learn. So you should never be comfortable coming from a place of deceit. Like, let me just lose this 20 pounds until I find a man and then I can gain it back. That's not the true path of becoming your best version.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I guess that's ultimately what I'm saying. And I'm not saying it to be like, oh, well, you shouldn't be a woman who likes to take care of her man and likes to cook and clean and likes that your man's attracted to you. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is there's a difference between that being an internal, intrinsic factor about you because you've made internal changes within yourself, and someone who's putting on a show to impress the men, to get male validation and attention, to hook a man. That's what I'm saying. And I do think that there's a difference between those two kinds of women. And I do think that the woman who's just putting on a show, yeah, sure, eventually she's going to lose the man. But let's be real. A lot of people know a lot of people who got into that situation, both men and women, where they signed on the dotted line. And then within 6 months, they don't even recognize their spouse anymore because that person let themselves go because they only did it to get themselves to this place. I got a man, I got a ring on my finger, I got the beautiful wedding. There you go. Now he's stuck with me. And people do that.
I think
you got it, Jessica.
I was just going to say a relationship is a commitment, right? And a commitment is something that's long term and basically everlasting. And so you have to look at those changes that you're making as commitments as well. So if you're going to, like you say, lose weight in order to get a man, that's something that you have to maintain. It's a commitment. You maintain that. It's not something that you let go. And if a woman does do that, then her mindset wasn't truly in the right place anyway, because she's not looking to actually satisfy the man long term. She's just looking to get him and satisfy herself. It has to be mutual. If you want that satisfaction in a relationship, you want the man, well, you have to satisfy him. It's something that's mutual. You both do it. And so if a woman is doing that and she's saying, I'm just going to make these changes in order to get him and then I'm going to stop, again, her mind isn't in the right place. And that's why if you do have that mindset, you're going to find it hard to have long-term commitment, and you're going to wonder why as well. And it's because you're not maintaining who you came into that relationship as.
Exactly. So what you were describing, and one of somebody super chatted me a question on that, Ruby, and that's what I would consider a fake pick me, because she is pretending to have a certain mindset in order to attract a mate. He was asking for advice on how to quickly see, the real from the fake. But yeah, those exist, and I mean, I wouldn't really classify those as pick me's. Those are more just pretenders. But there are other benefits. I mean, we not only want to have healthy arm candy as men, we also want to have healthy children. I mean, if you're the child's cook, I mean, like if the child's cook is 250 pounds, then like what is she gonna feed my children? Like, I mean, we look at that. Long-term thinking men look at that. So, it's important to not only do that, sustain it. Like, it's like, great, and we understand, at least I do, that, babies happen and, things change. It's a small price to pay for the child itself, but we understand that. But, we want you to have a healthy lifestyle and to teach those habits to our children and, and continue the pattern.
Right. No, I just think it comes down to the definitions, right? To me, everything that you describe as a pick me, I just describe that as a good woman, I guess.
Right.
So, and then I describe the pick me's as what you would say is a fake pick me. So.
Well, the thing is, we don't have we didn't make up the term. The term was made as a pejorative against women like yourself, Jessica, Melody, and Chantelle. It was made to shame them from being what you defined as a good woman. It was meant to shame them as that. So the definition, of course, is going to reflect that. I want to take that definition and make it into a positive, so they won't have this pejorative to use against women who are, more or less good women.
Mm-mm. Okay, that's for
You know.
we're gonna have to have that discussion one day. I know we're totally getting off topic. I didn't mean to
No,
derail
pick me is
anything.
the top. No, pick me is the topic. So you're on point, and it's good that you're getting all these different definitions because that's what they're trying to use it. I mean, trust me, that term is used to shame women. Chantel's got it. Jessica's definitely gotten it, especially her being British and mixed. I mean, and Melody's got it, and even though she's not a content creator. So it's definitely used to shame women into a certain behavior that men, quite frankly, find repulsive. Um,
Well, see, I
we
guess the way I've
simply
always
do.
seen it, because they use it against me too, amongst Mammy and all the other ones. But the way I've always seen it is basically what they're doing is they're saying that my behavior and who I am and how I treat my husband and men in general has to be fake and put on just for male attention because there's no way that could be real. And so the way I've always seen it is I'm fighting against it a little bit of a different way to say, of course it can be real, but it starts within yourself. It doesn't start within first finding a good man or whatever. I love that Chantelle brought that up, that it starts within you. You have to make a decision that you need to change you. And then that might not be enough. You might need to now change patterns, the patterns of behavior that you engage in, and get to the root of those and figure out why it is that you've been engaging in that. Is it modeling? Is it insecurity? Whatever it is. So, I think we ultimately support the same point that happens with you and me a lot, GC. It's just
Hmm.
the ultimate, the terminology and how we're going at it is a little different.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's meant to be confusing. Like just like the term feminism and things. These are very fluid words, and so the definition can be altered depending on how it's used. But no matter what, I want it to have a positive because women, what you say is good women. There shouldn't be a negative connotation of that. Period. And anything, if they want to call it mammy next year, then I'm going to embrace mammies because no matter what, I'm going to embrace a certain behavior from women. You could call it whatever you want. I want it, and I don't want you is going to be the bottom line of the discussion. And that's what Kevin was saying. Like, look, I mean, you're just not wanted. I mean, if you're not fucking pick me's, you're not fucking shit. So that's like, I mean, no matter what you want to call these women or shame them or do whatever, women like yourself, I mean, your husband's not complaining. So, it's, yeah, that's what it's, in the end, that's what it's going to come down to, and as far as them thinking that it must be fake, you see, that's because they are confusing masculinity with femininity. So, yeah, they think that their behavior is a natural way to be feminine and that they're being real women by behaving this way. And the way that their grandparents, our grandmothers and great grandmothers, et cetera, behaved was faked. But no, I mean, truth be told, it's more closer to the natural than anything. What Jessica was saying is closer to their instincts, I think you were saying, or their human nature,
Yeah.
you know. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, there are some women who almost do have to learn how to be a pick me. And I don't hold that against a woman if she does have to learn how to be that, because a lot of women are growing up in environments where the femininity is almost taken out of them. So you're indoctrinated almost from a young age, depending on your environment and your family, you're indoctrinated to act and behave a certain way. And so women have to unlearn those traits, which means learn to embrace the natural and the feminine again. And, they have to train and work at that. And so even if a woman is going against what she usually does and she has to learn it, I don't see it as a bad thing. It's not always their fault, because I feel like usually that happens at a stage where they don't have a choice in how they've been brought up. They've been brought up in a certain environment and they are what they are. And if anything, it's you have to commend them for realizing, do you know what, this isn't the way I need to be, and I'm going to make changes in my life. So even if a woman is, having to learn how to be a pick-me, and it's not something that necessarily is easy for her or natural, I still commend her for it because she's making the necessary changes.
Okay.
Heard that.
The Haitian says, Black women say they want Black men to do better. Why? So they can do better for the benefits of Black women, right? But there's pushback when it's Black women doing it for the benefit of Black men. Absolutely. Shout out to Jessica X. You're the real MVP. Okay, appreciate you, Haitian.
Okay, can I answer?
Because
I don't speak for those women who think that men should be dictating their whole entire lives around making women happy at all. So when I encourage Black men to to succeed and to achieve and to build their lives and their dreams and to build themselves, it's not in the benefit of Black women. I think just like women need to work on themselves, I think men need to work on themselves, especially if they're in a place where they're stuck and they don't know how to get out of that. So because ultimately at the end of the day, eventually you're going to find the right person. It would be great if you're at the right place, that you are already a husband and you find that woman, and it'd be great if she's already a wife, so that way y'all could come together and build your legacy now together. So I understand what you're saying, but again, I'm not those women and I don't answer for them because I don't think like them and I don't preach their message. Put it that way.
So Zeno says, when my girl does right, she's rewarded with the macaroni mixer 3000. Oh, y'all know what that is? I don't know what. There's a machine that mixes macaroni. Oh, okay.
It's a joke.
Okay. I thought it was a real device, but yeah, I just stir it. But I don't eat macaroni that often. Stoic, what's on your mind?
Yes. Peace to the panel. Game changer, Jessica. Ruby and Chantelle.
Hello.
Yes, I've just one question for Chantelle. My parents are Jamaican too, and I know about a lot about the culture. And I wanted to ask you, in your opinion, which culture, American culture or Jamaican culture, produces the most feminine woman?
I would say the Jamaican culture, only because, as I mentioned earlier, we're a third world country. We need each other to pay the bills. Therefore, the washing, the cooking, cleaning, and taking care of a man is pushed in the household, as opposed to the American culture for Black women. We have our independence. We can have our own place. We really do not need a man for anything. So we do not know how to serve. We do not need to know or learn how to serve a man. So I would say you'll find more feminine traits in a Jamaican household.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because I noticed, at least in my experience visiting my family in Jamaica, that it wasn't so like, I guess old school America where women do this and men do this and there's no cross in between. Like all the men know how to cook, all the men will sweep the front porch or whatever. Whoever's waking up first is sweeping the front porch, or whoever is there is going to cook for the kids or whatever. And if you've got to stay at home matriarch of the family, then she'll do the cooking or whatever. And the men will do the hard work. But the little girls will go out into the cane fields with their daddy or whoever to cut things down. So I found like it wasn't as divided, but somehow people still kind of knew their role within the marriage anyway. Did you see that at all, or was your experience different? Because I guess different areas could be different.
No, definitely. And it's funny you said, because all Jamaican men can cook and cook. Like, so it's funny. So I think it's more of a roommate sense. Like, okay, I'm living with you because we have this one house, and it makes no sense for us to separate and go be in our separate place. Though I think the roles are shared, but typically you'll find though the man can cook, it's the woman's expectation to cook and wash and clean and all those things.
Okay.
Hello.
So there's set gender roles in a Jamaican household. At least the part that you're from, Chantelle.
Say that again.
So the part of Jamaica that your family is from, there's set gender roles as far as how the chores are divided. Because there was in my house.
I would say like set as Ruby just said, like men would get up and clean, and the women are expected to go out and work as hard as the men. So it's not like a set traditional roles. It's just more like, hey, we're living together, so carry your load.
So, because in my grandpa's house, we could not, we meaning the boys, couldn't make our own food at all, like not even our own peanut butter sandwiches. And we didn't do any of the kitchen. And the girls subsequently, because like you, my cousin who was my age, she stirred the Kool-Aid. Like I couldn't make the Kool-Aid, and I wanted to make it because I would put more sugar in it if I made it. But she made the sandwiches and stuff. But we had to take out the trash. And not just take out the trash, we had to put it in the back of a truck because we took it directly to the city dump. So it would be me and my cousins, and we're in the back, and we're taking the trash out the back of a truck and just dumping a bunch of garbage into the garbage. So the women never had to do that, or sweep up the grass after my father mowed the lawn or nothing. They never had to do any of the outside work. So that's how we just like divvied up the task. And it was nothing like that. Go for it.
It is no, in a typical Jamaican household, the woman, you'll see them cooking and taking out the trash, and you'll see the man cooking and taking out the trash.
But like it doesn't change your like. There are set gender roles though. Like the man is the head of the household. You know what I mean? The woman is supporting that. What you do physically within the house, your tasks, your chores that are set to you don't define a man's role or a woman's role within the relationship or the family. It doesn't change that. So it's not as associated as it is in America.
But traditionally they have. I mean, the roles have been really set in stone as far as what men are supposed to do and what women are supposed to do. That's something that the modern world has tried not to be, in my opinion.
Is define gender roles. Yeah, I agree. I mean, my grandfather, he's from a different time, and like I say, things are different because we have to take the garbage directly to the city dump. I mean, I think if it was just a matter of taking trash to the outside trash, then the women would do it. But y'all don't want to go to the city dump, and I don't want you there. I want you to come home smelling like garbage, like you've been to the city dump. That's madness. Yeah, I know Jessica. She didn't, because they had houseboys and stuff. So,
Oh.
No, GC, we only had houseboy over in Nigeria, not here. So just when we went back over there.
You had a houseboy.
Damn.
No, it's common there. It's common. It's more common than you think.
What, Jess, you live in Essex, right? So you got
London.
That posh stuff like that.
I definitely couldn't afford a houseboy over here. I'll tell you that.
They was all posh. They just like, houseboy, I want some tea. Like they just it did a little boy, and he rubbed feet too. It was when you told me that, Jessica, I was cracking up.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's like, okay, so but it's again, the culture is different. So you'd get in, and for me it was kind of uncomfortable, right? Because you'd get in and he'd take your shoes off and they'd wash your feet. They'd wash your feet and dry your feet and stuff. And I think it's almost like, if you have the money to, you almost want to live like a king or a queen. But for me, it was kind of uncomfortable, the thought of somebody taking my shoes off and washing my feet. So I asked him not to. But that was his job. He used to just do like odd jobs around the house. Things like that. And they had a house girl too. She would cook and she would clean. But then They would pay for his education. They pay for her education. They get treated well. Despite me saying that they wash feet, they get treated well because they're living in like a really beautiful house. They're eating well, good conditions. He had like games and stuff, so they treated him well. But it's just a different culture.
Now, so even with the houseboy and housegirl dynamic, they did seem to have like very specific gender roles. Like from what you were telling me before, his duty was to the outside, outside of the feet, of course, but his duty was to the outside, and hers was the cooking and stuff like that. So, do you think that these values is something that they would later take into their families?
I suppose so to a certain extent, but obviously for Shedra, and that was the houseboy, right? For him, he's not going to take that back into his family. But the philosophy behind it is that you're helping the culture, but they have to earn it, but you're giving back to society because now he's going to have his education, he's going to go to uni, he's going to get a good job, and he's going to make something of himself. So that's the idea behind it. For the woman, I didn't see her much because she was in like a different, like almost like a different quarters of the house. The house is really big. So she was almost in a different area. I didn't see her as much, but yeah, I think most, again, it's like Chantelle and Ruby said, as a woman, you have to know how to cook. They teach you from early how to cook. So yeah, that's definitely something that's passed along.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm just kind of putting it out there. It does seem as though they're getting some family values from that. You know, like he's developing a work ethic, and hopefully subsequently he's a provider instinct where she is honing her domestic skills, and
I get you.
yeah. So like maybe that works out for them later.
Well, you know what though? Because I think, and I mean, I don't know, just from what I've noticed having conversations over the last 4 years. So like when I said I was the one who was physically rebuilding my upstairs in my house and laying floor and whatever, and some men were really not okay with that. But it's because of America attaching the task to the head of the household. So if you're the man, then you do the physical tasks and you bring home the bacon and you do this and you do that. And if you're not the one doing that, then you're not the one who's wearing the pants. And it's associated that way. But for me in my brain, it's not associated that way. Like I do the tasks that I'm able to do, that I'm good at doing, that I'm available to do, right? My husband, same thing. And it doesn't change, though, the gender dynamic. It doesn't change his role within the family, within our relationship, as far as him being the head of the household and, him having the final say. And it doesn't change that. Like, it doesn't matter who's doing what tasks. Stuff needs to get done. I'm good at doing it, and I'm available because he's at work, so I'm going to do it. And it doesn't threaten anything or change anything.
Well, I'm with them on that mind. And I don't think a man should feel threatened, because I really don't feel threatened by a woman with carpentry skills or anything like that, or mechanic skills. I just don't want it. I would prefer that you don't do that, and I don't need a reason. So, and because you mentioned this before on my channel, you changed a tire. I don't want that crap. I mean, I just as soon sit here with a flat or, and wait for AAA. Like if my hands are broken or something, like I don't care. You're not fixing it, and that's just the way I am. Like I don't feel a man needs a reason to not want his woman changing the tires. Just a bad look. I seen a dude like that. I seen a dude. He was in the car and his chick was pushing it. I thought that was weird.
He sat in the car and she pushed it.
Yeah.
Okay, that's bad.
Yeah, she wasn't a regular sized woman though. She was bigger.
It's like, okay, honey, get around the back. Go on, start pushing.
Yeah, he was staring. Like, I don't. That's just not me. And that's what stuff like that leads to. So, hey, call me whatever you want to, but yeah, I would just as soon prefer that you didn't do it.
I don't know. I unblocked a sink and I was pretty proud of myself.
See?
Yeah.
There you go. No, like, and I get what you're saying. I'm just saying, because you're in a culture, you're born and raised in a culture from generations who are born and raised in this culture that attaches the tasks to the gender and also attaches all of that to, your ultimate role in the household, right? Whereas I didn't have that same connection, right? Like my mom's like a she can't do nothing. She just would prefer if anyone but her did it, right?
Yeah.
And so she'll act broken so someone else can do it. That's fine, right? You could be like that, or you can be like me. It doesn't ultimately change, my traditionalist values as far as what my husband is to me and to my family and whatever. Like, it just, do you know what I mean? It doesn't impact that for
No.
me.
Well, I get it with you because you mentioned before that you grew up on some tomboy stuff. So I get that. That's your thing. Personally, I like the more girly girl types. I like the ones who would, because there's certain things I could cook. Like this year for Thanksgiving, I made my own banana pudding for the first time. So there's certain things, however, women should be of the mindset. I prefer women who are of the mindset that would rather do the cooking than have me do it for myself. That's just who I am. I mean, but I get it. I'm not saying what you're doing is wrong, Ruby. I'm just saying, it's not for me. Your husband is fine with it, and y'all been married for quite some time.
Exactly.
You see, ain't for me either, man.
Yeah,
Can't do that.
yeah. Changing the tire. Oh no, that's some crap right there.
No, like if he's there, he would want to change it, right? I mean, even though it's going to take him 17 times longer than it will take me. But, he would want to change it, or he would rather call CAA. But in the case of me driving by myself, and I've only got one call of CAA free left, and there's still 8 months left to go, I can change a tire and put a flat on. Like, I've done it multiple times when I was younger. So it's not like a big deal to me, right? So, but if he was there, he would not have me pushing the car or changing the tire, right? Like, it's
I'm gonna be honest. Because we have AAA and we get like 3 of them a year, and I would call AAA, and if it was a woman who came in AAA, I would just take the hit and call another one. Like, I'm not gonna sit in a car while a woman change a tire, even if that's her job. That's just but that's just me. I don't accept tickets from women police officers. I just
So even if it's not your woman, okay. So like just overall, like, so then the question, that I asked Chantelle earlier about money. So if you were with like women and whatever, would you like, and I mean like women, not like random strangers, but like, sisters, cousins, whatever, would you want to pay that bill since you're the one there, or like, no, everyone pays their own bill?
I don't understand the question. Do you, Chantelle?
It's a trap, Chantelle. Don't do it. Don't answer.
No, it's for you. Is the question for me?
No, it's questions for Game Changer. So I asked Chantelle, well, earlier, because I was saying something I noticed is that when I'm in the presence of men here, right, and the eldest men in the group pay for everyone's dinner if we're all out together, or pay for whatever we're going to. They don't want, the women or the younger people paying. They want to be taking care of people. So I guess I was wondering, what is your view on that? If you're with a group of younger than you people and women, would you pay, or everyone pays their own?
I would. That hasn't come up, but I would. Or actually, no, that has come up. That has come up because I'm the oldest in my generation. So, yeah, and I did. I do that all the time. But and yeah, my father would do that. And I don't remember if Grandpa ever did that. He probably did, and I just was too young to remember. But yeah, we did that. That's no problem. Now, there was a time, like in college, and we're all relatively the same age. Then nobody did that. Like nobody said oh, you're 19 and a half and you're 19, so you pay.
Right.
I mean, but no, like reasonably, if you got a couple years on it and you're with family and stuff, yeah, you just pick up the tab.
Okay.
Or I just pick up the tab. Yeah. Yeah, and then that goes for drinks and stuff too. You see, things like this is not just limited to like people that you deal with on a romantic level. You know, it's that's just what you do.
Mhm.
If you
Yeah.
can. If you're going through hard times, then of course you act accordingly. But generally speaking, that's what you do.
Yeah, that's fair.
Okay, so the Haitian says, notice how the roads are shared or blurred till something goes bump in the middle of the night, or ditches to be dug, roads to be paved. I don't see women up there building a 100 feet skyscrapers, nor do I want to. You know, and I know that they exist. Those women with the butt cracks and the overalls and stuff like that and the tool belts. It's just not my type. It's like don't. You know, just like Serena Williams. I mean, don't be a muscle chick. And you talk about that on your channel, Chantelle. You talk about how to get a figure. How did you word it? Get a figure, but not get masculine.
Oh, those are old videos. Yeah, how
Yeah, well, I was
to
looking through. Yeah,
yeah, how to build muscle without being too masculine or too
yeah,
muscular. Yeah.
yeah,
Fit
exactly.
feminine.
Yeah, that feminine look. Yeah.
Yeah, like Angela Bassett with the arms and the stomach and stuff. You know,
Mhm.
she's old, but she's just like so yeah, like that. So yeah, I mean that's what I like. I mean, you know, you're on some tomboy thing, and you know, you're easy on the eyes, um, classic Ruby. But you know, it's just why we wouldn't be a compatible match. Like,
No,
so
probably not. And but like not,
yeah,
and if that's what you're supposed to look for, other than basics, and you look at other forms of compatibility, right? If I'm with a man who doesn't like that I do those things, like I dated once a guy for 5 years who didn't like that. He wanted me to be, the wallflower and the one with the limp wrists and whatnot. And so I did that because at the end of the day, right, whether he's my husband or I'm just dating him, to me, the man is ultimately, he's, like I said, he's got the final say because he's the head of this relationship. So if he doesn't want me doing it, then okay, I guess I'm not doing it. But at the same time, it was boring. And, just to watch him sit there and struggle sometimes at some of these things where I could have helped, it would have been faster and easier. But nope, he didn't want to have it done. And, to me, I think if we had ended up getting married, we probably would not be particularly happy together. Just, he didn't need my set of skills. He needed someone else's.
yeah. Well,
So you
and to what Jessica said, listen, I wouldn't even mind if you want to unclog a kitchen sink, a kitchen sink.
Oh no, I'm not
But
doing the toilet. Oh no,
yeah,
definitely not.
that's the thing. That's the thing. You are not doing the toilet.
Do
If
you
we
know
were
what?
together, you would not be doing the toilet under any because it's I don't even want to do it. But a man's got to do what a man's got to do. Because sometimes I have to snake it. You know what a snake is?
Mm-hmm.
No.
A snake goes into the toilet. It goes all the way in, and then you turn the thing, and then you take it out, and that's when it's like deeply clogged, and that's disgusting.
No, I had no choice because it was when we were on the quarantine.
Hmm.
And so for me to call somebody out, it was like 10 times the normal rate. And so I got my phone out, watched a YouTube tutorial, and I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a go. And it worked.
Yeah, it's okay a little bit, like I said, I made my own banana pudding, so it's okay a little bit, but when you out changing tires, you cross the line, Ruth. I mean, like
I
it's just a
installed the
bit too much.
toilet. I installed a whole
Oh,
bathroom and a
see,
whole
that's
kitchen.
disgusting.
Yeah.
Anything
Oh, it
with
gets
you in a
better,
toilet,
Ruby, doesn't it?
I don't want to picture women dealing in toilets in any capacity at all. That's just
Getting better on Ruby each time. She gets more handy each time.
yeah.
I draw
Look,
the line at toilet work.
Yeah, I do too. Like I'm good. But what do you say about that, Chantel? Are you a toilet woman? Are you just like,
toilet woman.
or do you get somebody in overalls to take care of that? Like,
I mean, I as I've mentioned before, I understand where Ruby's coming from because I was always the type where, if I need something done, it's much faster, easier to get it done myself. But as I mentioned before, having so many life changes and being the one to make those decisions and then get the stuff done, I've learned how to outsource, for lack of a better word. So I am like your mom, Ruby. Now, in this point in my life. If there's something that needs to be fixed, I am calling somebody. I'm sorry.
That's actually
You're
a good point.
calling a man.
My
A
mom was
man.
Yeah.
was divorced or separated for a very long time, most of my life. So when my mom needed something done, guess who got to do it? Her only child. That was me. So that's probably why I became proficient in doing everything, because I lived in her house and she just sees me as a kid. And again, Jamaican culture, kids just do whatever kids on hand does that job. That's just what it is. Yeah. So that's probably it.
Okay, let's see. Let's not make exceptions to the rule. We're talking about the general rule. Haitian, are you talking more about, well, let me see your last one. Hold on, because it's gone, but some time has passed since that one. But you're saying that Ruby's the exception. I remember your last one was about digging ditches and stuff. Yeah, they don't want to do the dirty work, and that's okay. I don't want them to do the dirty work, because after that they're dirty. Like you look like toilet after that. Like, I mean, I don't want to associate you with a toilet snake or a plunger. A plunger? That's disgusting. Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
first of all, I didn't to install the toilet, to be fair, because of my back, I couldn't lift the toilet. So he actually removed the old toilet and put the new one in. I'm the one who sealed the gasket and everything. But that's not plunging a toilet. It's not like there's anything dirty with the brand new toilet. It's just being fair. And I cleaned the old one regularly. So it's not like I was
you were
like
cleaning
covered
an
in
old
poop.
toilet. That's not hot.
Well,
That's
women
not hot.
clean. Do you clean your bathroom, or does your woman clean your bath? When you're in a relationship, in a live-in relationship, who cleans the house? Who
You
cleans the
say
bathroom?
no. You say old toilet. That just sounds bad. But no, I mean no. Cleaning it is one thing with the brush. The brush is cute. It's feminine and stuff like that. But the plunger, you're down there using money and there's using muscle and there's bound to be some splashback. There's just bound to be some splashback. And no, that's awful.
You know why I learned to use a plunger? I learned how to use a plunger because one time, because I used to refuse to use anyone's toilet but my own. But one time I was dating someone. I was like 19, and I used his toilet and I plugged it, and I was just so humiliated. There was no way I was calling him in to plunge this. No way. So I had to figure out how to make that plunger work. So. Because I could not stand the humiliation of calling this man, it's like a new relationship within the first year and being like, okay, now come look at my business in the toilet and plunge it out. Like, no, that was not going to happen. No.
Oh, crap.
Yeah, it's pretty humiliating. Just saying.
What do you eat? You need to be a pedestrian, or what do you call it, Chantelle? You need to be like, how are you blocking toilets? Like you're a truck driver. Like what are you eating?
It happens. No, it was a basement toilet, and like they're like low flow and like was older toilet and whatever, so it wasn't that effective of a toilet. Let's put it that way. So
okay. Ike with the huge super chat. Man, Ike, I greatly appreciate you, brother. You say for the houseboy fund.
Hey, Big Ike, money world.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Ike. Man, I don't know what I would do if I had like houseboy money. I don't know I mean. I'd want to help.
houseboy.
Well, I mean, I want to help just like Jessica was saying, but it'll be mostly the yard. I don't want him on my feet, but yeah, I'd have a young dude like pay for his school if he goes to private school and in exchange for chores. Yeah, I do that now. So you're going to watch my car.
You set the rules. You decide what you want them to do, isn't it? So you do whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, exactly. And there's always a car to wash or just some general tasks that lawns to mow and stuff like that. Yeah, I'd have one. Like I say, there used to be a neighborhood boy.
And stuff. He used to sweep the front of the house and just little things like that.
Yeah.
I only used to see him cleaning outside. So like he'd clean like the yard that's at the front of the house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but other than that, I think the house girl did the other stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's more expensive, but there was a Mexican kid that used to wash my car, because he asked me if I had any cans or bottles, and I did because I keep them until I get ready to go to the recycle plant, which I don't like to do, so they kind of pile up. So I gave him a bunch of them, And then, he was real happy with it. And he said, if there's anything you could ever do, I said, hey, if you want to make some money, you could wash my car, and he did that until his family moved. So, I'm for supporting like that, teaching work ethic to young people, because that's what they did to me in the 80s. I never had to rub anybody's feet, but, I did odd jobs for the building super. It does build character, that and the Boy Scouts and stuff. So, but yeah, I appreciate the large super chat. I appreciate you, bro. All right. And Zeno said, my girl cried when she couldn't park the car before I had to do it for her. So she was young and she didn't know how to drive yet. Is that what she's saying? But
Well, I think like women are bad at parking, isn't it? So you see it all the time, and the guy's like, "Oh, just get out, let me handle it," and he parks it for them perfectly.
Just let me parallel park, and you change your tire, Ruby. Like,
no, that's not how it happened.
That's probably why you get so many flats. How you run out of AAA? Like, that's probably why you get so many flats a year, because you don't know how to park. Your tire be on the curb and stuff.
No. What ends up happening, I'm so irresponsible. So what will happen is I'll be sitting in the car, and I'll go to my car during my work break or something and read in my car, and the light's on, and I'll forget the light's on when I leave. So I've had to get a boost a lot of times when I was younger. Yeah.
Oh, dang. Yeah. You mess your battery up like that.
Yeah, a couple times I locked my keys inside the car. Old cars used to let you do that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it didn't have the warning system. Okay, I got you. Mm-hmm. So you became handy because it was always your thing, and you don't want to tell him that you're calling AAA all the time because you're locking keys and
worthless. Yes.
And running the battery down. Now I see you just trying to keep it a secret. You breaking toilets and you just trying to cover up your own track.
Pretty much. No, you know what? At the end of the day, and again, because it didn't bother him, but it came down to we could spend, $40,000 redoing upstairs in our house, or we could pay just for materials because this is all something I can personally do. That's what it came down to. And, I was okay with doing it. It gave me something to do because, I'm a stay-at-home wife, no children. So why not?
No, I understand a woman having a craft, even if that craft is traditionally male. I'm talking about stuff like changing a tire. I'm talking about stuff like, when there's stuff to be done and I'm there to do it, I don't know. Cause really stuff like that, it kind of falls into the protection category. This is a hazard and you're helping with this hazardous situation. I don't know. There's certain things like, but like if a woman just so happens to have gotten an A in wood shop or something like that, that's one thing. But
and I think Chantelle kind of alluded to it a little bit, but like men in Jamaican culture, they could all cook. They could all throw down on something. And when they feel like making that thing, great. But it's still ultimately in a relationship, it tends to be the woman's responsibility to cook and clean. He might get up and clean something. He might get up and cook something, but it's your role as a woman to make sure that the actual cooking and cleaning is done. Everyone's provided for with food and, clothing and whatnot. Right. So it's there are some things that are optional, but then if you don't do them, well, it was never really your role to begin with. It's still going to ultimately fall on him. So it's the outdoor, I've never really, except for when I was a kid, I didn't really mow the lawn, for example. It's not really my thing. Or I used to, again, shovel the driveways up until, I lived with my husband. Now he shovels the driveway. So, there are some things where for sure, yeah, he's going to do it, even if it wasn't a health issue or whatever, and vice versa, things I'm definitely going to do. And sometimes I'll help him out. I'll salt the walk, or sometimes he'll help me out. He'll cook dinner. But, I do think that it does tend to fall to one or the other of us to make sure that that probably more traditionally male or traditionally female role is taken care of by the woman or the man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I get it.
Yeah.
No, I get it. I wasn't raised in, because remember, that was my grandfather's house. So after my parents divorced, because it was such an economic impact to my father, he had to move back home. So between maybe like 3 and I'd say maybe like 6 or 7, I stayed with my grandparents, or I stayed with my father, who stayed with his parents. So that was a thing for a few years, and that was more traditional, and that was the one where it was as I described, and we went to the dumpster and stuff like that. So but I don't think it's an American thing to have more traditionally defined gender roles, because when my father remarried and they and he moved out, both the boys and the girls washed dishes and stuff like that. So, we were kind of coming out of traditionalism, but you see, my father divorced twice. So I learned what worked and what didn't work. And apparently grandpa and grandma had the right idea, where my father and mother didn't. So, I seen that this new thing that they tried last generation really didn't work. So I'm not, and you only have to show me once, like, hey, this new idea isn't working. Let's go back to the old ways. And I just want more people to do that. I mean, you don't have to be so precise, because what you're talking about with the kitchen is more on some interior decorating stuff. But shoveling the snow, we don't have snow here, you know that. But I mean, first of all, I'm not gonna live in a place where it snows. But secondly, I'm not going to have a woman shovel snow on the driveway. You think that having her do stuff like that, she's not going to bring that masculine energy into the house after it snowed? Like, come on now, y'all delusional. If y'all think that,
Oh,
I'm talking to the fellas.
no.
No, I'm talking
But
to the fellas. But I'm saying y'all delusional if y'all think y'all gonna have this chick, who's gonna shovel snow and then come home with her nails done to go down on you. You created that monster if you're doing that, in my opinion.
well, okay, maybe, and to be fair, right? Different culture, right? Don't live in America. But for me, no. And you know what? If I did something hard, he'll tend to rub my feet a little bit, and then, then the massage goes up my calf and my thigh. You know what I mean? So I mean, like, one way or the other, right? My energy when I'm in my household with my man, or in our car, like once I'm with him, right? I am his wife. Right. And so that deference and that respect and that he's my man, the internal submission that my internal woman makes to him cannot be changed or moved by any particular chore or action that happens. He inspires that and brings that out of me every moment that I'm with him, even when I'm not with him, just being, married to him. That is inside of me. So
Nah,
it
nah.
doesn't
It
matter what I
sounds
do
like
or what I don't do.
No, it sounds like y'all backwards. It sounds like y'all backwards, and you just saying that you traditional and wife and this and this, and you wear the pants and he rubbed the feet. See, that's the thing.
Where the
Everything.
pants? Me?
No. He's rubbing your feet while you got pants on. Is what I'm saying. Like, everything you're saying is backwards. You're saying that you go out and shovel snow and then come home from a long day of snow shoveling, and he rubs your feet. Is that what you're saying?
Uh, I don't know. I'm trying not to be too descriptive. Because I try to keep things a little PG and whatever. But the whole thing, again, I came and lay down. Women do. We lie down, put our feet or our head on your lap and whatever. And he starts a little massage, and that massage escalates and leads to a little something. Something is my point. So in and of itself, right? And I'm not talking about shoveling snow, because I don't shovel snow. I just said that. But I'm talking about, like, if I was, cleaned all day, oh my God, the house is so sparkly, or, whatever. If he had a hard day, same thing. Our massages tend to lead to something. It doesn't change ultimately the fact that I had to work hard. It's not like cleaning and scrubbing every little corner is not hard. That doesn't change a woman who does that and is happy to do that for her man in her household. And yeah, she might be a little tired from having cleaned all day and whatever, but she's proud of herself for having accomplished that. When he notices it, it makes her feel great inside and whatever. It doesn't change just because she had a hard day. If that's the way you are, if you are an internal submission to your man, and you have that love and respect and deference for your man and that attraction to your man, how does you being tired or having worked hard change that?
No, I just had a misconception, and there's different types of tired. There's tired just because you have a large set of small tasks, and then there's tired because you did resistance work. You did muscle. It should be cardio, but you out shoveling snow. See, I misunderstood that scenario. But no, if a woman is tired because her muscles ache because she's been lifting something heavy all day, or she's been, like bricklaying or whatever, that's different than, she just had a long day, to keep the house immaculate, and now she's in the mood. That's different. What you're describing is more in sync with what I feel that the traditional male dominant, female submissive relationship should be, and that's what this channel is about, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
To re-bring that dynamic that worked for my grandparents, and didn't work for my parents. So yeah, that's what I'm all about. But I see where you're going with that. Any thoughts on that, Chantelle?
I see where she's coming from. Let me turn on back my camera. Hold on.
Okay.
I get where Ruby's coming from. And as I said, being that type that I would go out there, and earlier, as I said, like, leading with my independence, I would be the one shoveling the snow and doing all these things, fixing the toilet and stuff. But the desire that I want to be in my feminine energy 99.9% of the time, like, I want to allow a man to do all those masculine tasks and change a tire and all those things. And that's just personal choice, personal reasoning. It's not one way fit all. It's whatever works for your relationship. But it's for myself and for people who want to be feminine all the time. I just stopped. I had a boyfriend who taught me how to change a tire, just in case I can't call AAA. But I don't need that skill anymore because I decided that I'll sit in the car and wait for someone to come. But again, that's just personal preference.
And ladies, if you get a fitness coach like hers, somebody will come.
I'm
Like
sorry,
somebody, if you get a personal trainer, ladies, then somebody will come.
Oh.
Men do not let women with who's attracted. They pull over. They pull over to help. They don't pull over if they see me changing a tire, but but men will pull over. When you're a woman and you look your best, men will pull over to help. You don't have to wait long either. You stand outside and a guy will help for free. You don't need all that stuff. And yeah, that's being in a femininity. So the pre-26 or the 26-year-old you say would shovel the snow. Now, what type of energy did you bring back to the man what was he doing while he was shoveling the snow? He was watching the game? What was he doing?
I mean,
Because it snows
I'm
in
not
Dallas, don't it?
not literally shoveling snow, because I don't do the snow either, Florida or Jamaica.
Yeah, okay.
But in terms of where I would not be okay with asking for help, not that he wouldn't help, but I was not okay with asking for the help. I was very, I got this and I need to show that I can do it on my own.
Okay. Now, what did you do in the check situation at 26?
Pardon me?
Check. So you're out with a guy, and a check come. How did you handle that? 26-year-old you.
26-year-old me would want to collect the check, want to pick up the check, because I wanted to show him my independence and show him that I got it. And I shared a story on my my channel once, how an ex came over and was like, let's go out to eat. He proposed that we go out to eat, but when the check came, I didn't eat because I wasn't hungry. But when the check came, he handed it over to me and said, hey, you pay. And I paid because I wanted to show him my independence. So yeah, 26-year-old me wanted to show my independence and show that I didn't need a man for anything. So I was attracting those men who would make me pay for the bill, even though I didn't eat.
So he invited you to pay for his food.
Yes.
It's not a good deal, ladies. It's not. You know, this new deal that they came up with last generation, it's not a good one for either party. You know, like he may think, but you know that energy is going to resonate later. I'm pretty sure it did towards him, right? Like, I mean, you know, the relationship probably wasn't
The
what
relationship
hoped
was
for.
draining because deep down, as Jessica said, I wanted to be feminine. It was natural for me to want to be feminine. It's not every woman, because Ruby likes changing the tires and she likes fixing her upstairs bathroom. So it's not every woman. But for me personally, on an individual level, I wanted to be feminine. And because society told me that lead with your independence, show a man that you don't need him. And thinking
Mm.
that to get a man, I would need to lead with my independence and pay his bill. It was draining for me.
And it is.
Mm.
I often wonder because I see what men get out of the New Deal. I could see why men would assume that this is a good idea because you're getting the same, from their point of view, you were going to get the same women that you got before. It's just that she provides more to the house, economically speaking. I never really seen how did they sell women on feminism. I don't get what was the upsell for that. I mean, I get you because it was security. I'm talking to you, Chantelle. So I get that because, you know, your mother, you know, her situation, and um, you just had it like as a backup, right?
Yeah, I think they saw women because of freedom. They kind of painted especially black women, that color purple storyline,
Hmm.
kind of promoting freedom. You don't need to depend on a man for anything. And that's why a lot of black women find it so hard to give up their independence, because then that will require you to step out to the driver's seat and depend on a man. And that's terrifying, the thought of depending on someone fully.
Mm.
So it's fear mongering that they
Mhm.
sold you on, that marriage is oppressive, you know,
Yes.
like, yeah, marriage is oppressive, and this is freedom from an oppressive thing where a guy kneels to you and give you jewelry. Like, you want to be free from that awful,
Mhm.
awful oppressor. Yeah.
Yes.
Um, I get
You
it.
know, can I ask a question?
Let
Because
me just read this real quick.
oh,
Uh,
okay, sorry.
Goodman said, "Ruby, you are the type to wear lingerie with Timberland boots because this is all." Okay, just kidding. That's a visual. That is a visual.
I don't
But
have Timberland boots, but I have about 700 million pairs in a variety of colors of Puma Ferrari cats. It's a very specific type of running shoe, and I love it.
okay.
Yeah. So no, not Timberlands, but I wore the running shoes on my wedding day. So you can
Oh
Well,
actually go to my
Timberlands
wow.
are
website
more
and
like
see it. Yeah.
Tim, well, Timberlands are on your wedding day. Ti-
Yeah, Pumas. I wore the Pumas on my wedding day. Yeah,
Why'd
not
you wear
Timberlands.
Pumas on your wedding day? Just in case you changed your mind at the last minute? Like,
No, 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 no. Well, because of my back and my health and whatever, right? Heels are
oh,
not
that's right.
super
Yeah,
smart anyway, and I wanted red shoes. I wanted ruby red shoes. So,
I
because
got
Okay.
you.
red's my thing. So yeah, red Pumas. They're
I got
classy
you.
looking. You can go to my website, classicruby.com, and you scroll down a few posts. There's a picture of me in the shoes and whatever, so you can see it. But um, I wanted to ask, so because we're talking about society, did your mom think that way as well? Like, did your mom give you that impression, like, make sure this marriage is so oppressive and you don't need no man, make sure you never have to, or was it just kind of society?
It was a little of both. But as I shared earlier, I don't think my mom was doing it from a place of to jeopardize my relationships. It was just a
Mm.
place of protection. She had a pattern of attracting not so very masculine. I don't want to use the word toxic, but opposite toxic men.
Mhm.
So to protect me, she would say, never love a man more than he loves you, and make sure you get your education, because then that's something you can fall back on if a man ever was to disrespect you or treat you how you don't desire it.
Okay. My mom told me the same thing. Well, not all of it. My mom did tell me always make sure you get a man who loves you more than you love him.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I don't know where that comes from though, because the rest of it, my mom was very like, you know, you find a man to take care of you. That's what life is all about, right? You find a man, a good man to take care of you. That was always my mom. But the whole make sure he loves you more than you love him thing, that was also very, very present in her
And it
teachings.
was definitely fear based, because I'm not sure if you got the one that says never tell a man how much you make.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Mm-hmm.
always to keep a separate bank account, and never and you know, the money under the mattress, never let you know how much is under there. So it was definitely fear based, to just in case this man screw you over, you have a out.
You know, my mom, I I do think there's some of that there. I think the biggest thing for my mom when we're talking about fear with the money and stuff was like she wanted me to thrive and, you know, intellectually and make money and whatever. But it was like she always said that it would be a man doesn't want a woman who's smarter than him. A man doesn't want a woman who has more money than him and whatever. So it was like hide those things, you know, never let on too much. If you're smarter than the man you're with, never let him know that. Let him feel smarter than you, because otherwise, you know, you're going to lose a good man. That was kind of her approach.
Oh, interesting.
Did is in your experience, ladies, is that true? Because I'll tell you my experience. When I was young, women always made more money than me, and that's because young women are more employable than young men. For example, they tend to get work in industries that's not readily available to us. The caregiver industry, child rearing industry, like, you know, work in daycares and stuff like that, or work with foster children, things that don't necessarily require education when you're young. And they also work in industries where you get tips. And if you're young, especially if you're pretty, then you're just gonna beat the young minimum wage Burger King worker like myself out the water. So I just learned at that age to become very comfortable with women who made more than me. Um, you know, I didn't really trip, because like that's just the way it is. Like when you're young, you're washing the dishes and your girlfriend is the waitress and she gets tips and you don't. Like that's just how I kind of seen it. Now that changes, you know, after skills develop. But I don't know. I just assume that guys would be comfortable with that. Because, like, what do you do when you make minimum wage? Like, what do a guy do when he makes minimum wage?
I don't know. I think that for me, at least, both things were true. You know, I unlike, you know, I didn't really take my mom's advice so well, so I just let people see who I am, and you're either going to take it or leave it. When it came to money or status or something, as far as like in my job or something, it was almost like they thought, like it was almost like they thought I was insulting them, or I would look down on them for not being able to provide for me as much as I could provide for myself. Right. So they could only afford, let's say, a vacation, a couple hours drive up north, whereas then I could afford to bring us to Jamaica. So even though I made no qualms about it, I wasn't upset about it, but it was almost like maybe someone that they had experienced in life had already done this to them. So they were already conditioned to feel like if they don't make more than me, then I'm not going to be satisfied with anything they can provide to me. And when it
Oh,
came to the intelligence thing, it was almost like they felt like I looked at them like they were stupid, or just because they didn't know something I knew or whatever. So it was like that again, not because I actually thought it, not because I ever treated them that way, but I think it's some conditioning from past relationships with family or women they've dated or something that tells them that.
I get it. And yeah, so there is a level. There is a level to where it becomes extremely uncomfortable that I haven't experienced. But yeah, if a woman say had a private jet, that would be very uncomfortable for me.
Mm.
Not the jet itself, but just knowing that, you know, that you buy her first class tickets and she say, "Oh no, we'll just take a jet." That will be out there, and you know, and then she takes you on a jet, on a private jet to Nigeria, and then a houseboy come out. I think that, you know, that would just really like pretty much show how much you don't have. So yeah, I think that there is a certain level to where that would just completely be awkward. And I mean, and I don't mind a woman who's smarter than me, but if she's out splitting atoms and she's just talking with her friends at a dinner party about the cure to corona, and I'm just sitting there like, okay.
Mm.
So yeah, so I see how on an extreme that would be uncomfortable for a guy, but I never dated in that extreme because it's extremely rare. Private jet people are extremely rare.
But
Yeah.
then I also think it comes down to as a masculine energy, you want to provide, you want to be the one that provides.
Right.
And if she makes more than you, then I mean, as the example, you guys are going on a staycation as opposed to you are able to fly him out to Jamaica. That kind of makes him feel like he's not masculine enough for the relationship.
Right.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that happening. I don't see it happening too often. And it wouldn't mind if it was a small amount because she could just keep that on her own. Like like if a guy is 100K and she's 120, you shouldn't really worry about that. But like I say, if she's like a whole zero, a whole figure ahead of him, then yeah, that could cause problems.
Well, can I speak or y'all gonna keep talking on?
No. Let me just read this.
Okay. All right.
So Ken Conjo said, salute, brother Game Changer. Just stopping through. Definitely good to see this panel. Shout out to the ladies, Classic Ruby / Jessica, superb. And of course he means you too, Chantelle. He just didn't see your name because I had a super chat up. Okay, what's on your mind, brother Ray?
I would say this, a man has to be secure within himself. Because if a man is not secure within himself, things like money or lack thereof will shake him to the core. Meaning that if I know a person personally, his wife is a dean of a pharmacy school.
Mm-hmm.
He's a machinist.
Mm-hmm.
She was supposed to get paid like $479,000.
Mm-hmm.
Now she took the $79,000 and paid his salary. So he basically working for free. Well, yeah, he basically was working for free, but his wife is paying his salary. He's a machinist. She's a dean at a pharmacy school. But he's not worried about the money that she makes or what he don't make. Being masculine has nothing to do with the money you make or the lack thereof. Femininity has nothing to do with your occupation. Because there are female police officers that are feminine to their husbands. Even though they go out and chase down and do whatever they do, they still come home to be feminine to their husbands. Now, an insecure man, a man who really don't know himself, something like that would probably intimidate. If like Game Changer said, the one with the private jet, and you make 100K, a secure man would just say, hey, I'm the man in this relationship. She respects me as a man in this relationship. So the fact that she has money, this does not affect me as a man.
So
go ahead.
Okay. I agree with you. Perhaps the private jet shouldn't bother me the way it did. It wouldn't shake me to the core, nor would it be a deal breaker on the relationship. However, under no circumstances am I just gonna take the 70K and not work. That's just I mean, and this isn't a shot at your friend. That's just not my character.
He works. He has a job at the same place that she works at, but she took part of her salary and applied it to his salary.
So she hired him.
No. Just two different departments. She's a machinist. He's a machinist. On a totally different department. She's a dean of a pharmacy school. I was at like a university, like a medical school, where you surgeons, scientists, research scientists, optometrists. So we had different medical schools. I mean, different departments of medical schools. But she was a dean of the pharmacy school, which then in order, the deal was to hire her husband and pay him. She'll get paid $400,000, and the $79,000 that she would have got paid, pay a salary. See, now, a woman don't like a lazy man. Now, I don't know, I do know that a woman don't like a lazy man. Now, he could have sat at the house and done nothing, probably, but for him to stay in this masculine, because it does something to a man feels better when he's being productive.
Agreed.
No matter the level. If he was making 80,000, that job goes. If he goes to McDonald's and makes $10 an hour, that makes him that does something to a man's psyche, knowing that he's being productive.
Yeah, I agree.
So the money don't make a man or shake a man, but a lot of times I've seen this happen too, is where a woman will try to belittle a man because she makes more. That's a problem.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing, Brother Ray. The women I am primarily attracted to, and I'm not talking about like in personal circles or anything like that. I'm talking about more like fantasy type women, like Megan Good or something like that. For example, make more than me because they're paid for their beauty. So would I enjoy a relationship with her? Absolutely. So it's not a deal breaker. As I understand the relationship, I probably would just continue to live off of what I make and not take the 79K from her. I see why it was given. I just probably wouldn't feel comfortable doing it, but I'm not in that situation. So who knows? Maybe, maybe he just, having an allowance on top of his salary is perfectly fine. I just wouldn't feel comfortable doing that. What do you ladies have to say on that?
I mean, sorry,
go ahead, Ruby. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was just gonna say I have seen it. I mean, and I can't say I haven't. I've seen it happen to, family or, my male friends where a woman feels as though, right? And I mean, I think we just heard this recently in a video this week, that, anyone who earns less than her, who has a career with less prestige, is not as valuable as her. She can't see that man as being high value to her. And so it's almost like, in a way, she takes on a mother almost approach to this relationship where, I still want to be a woman and whatever, but not as a wife or a girlfriend. They see it more as mother-son. And, you do see kind of veiled disrespect, or, you don't see that same deference. And I do think that ultimately, even if people don't like the word submission, I do think there needs to be a level of respect and deference. And if a woman can't feel that because of something, superficial, like, how much money you make or how much money she makes in relation, then, and you experience that enough times, I kind of understand why men would get that feeling that, well, if I get myself into a relationship with a woman who makes more money, then it's going to be that I'm agreeing to a dynamic where she is the boss and I'm in submission to her. She wears the pants, she makes the final decisions because I'm basically the kid. And, I mean, again, I don't think that these roles that men and women inherently have and should have within the family actually have anything to do with these tangible things like money. We didn't evolve to respect pieces of paper. They didn't exist 10,000 years ago, right? So why should men be the ultimate leaders and have the final say? Because men think, on a big level. They can see 5 years ahead, and, kind of women look at things on a more micro level. That's why we make a good team, because women can analyze the micro and men can put that together with other things they know and make a good decision about where to lead you for the next 5 years, right? So it should be irrelevant. But if you're in a society that is very obsessed with money and earning and, career and all that stuff, I can see why it creates a problem.
I agree 100% with Ruby. And I'll also add, when a woman is the main provider, the breadwinner in the household, when she becomes pregnant, a lot, like 99.9% of women do not want to work or have to work to pay significant bills when after pregnancy. So that lady being the main breadwinner in the household is going to affect the relationship once kids come, because if she doesn't work, imagine having giving birth and having to have to go back to work for your bills to be paid.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, I
And
would say this. I would say it'd be wise for a woman to pick as a mate a man who's financially disciplined. If you're not financially disciplined, a person can make $400,000. That's roughly about 35 or 30 some thousand a month. If you're spending 29,000 out of the 30, you have bad spending habits.
Mm-hmm.
But if you get you a man who's financially disciplined, great with money, and most of the time women are not as financially disciplined as men. If he's financially disciplined, then you would trust him with the money that's earned, and hopefully you would pick a man who will do right by you.
Exactly.
As far as relationships, money, and fidelity. If you question any of that with you, or he questioning any of that with you, then y'all shouldn't be together in the first place. So that's what I gotta say about that. So get you a man who's financially disciplined. If he's not financially disciplined, he got poor spending habits. You got poor spending habits. If you get pregnant, then you're gonna have to pay majority of the bills. But if he's earning money, 50 or say 75 without the bonus, but his skills make 75, you make 150. Then if he's financially disciplined, you get pregnant, you won't miss a beat. So it's not it's not very for a disciplined man. It's not very hard to understand. You got to be financially disciplined anyway. And a woman should pick up. Go ahead.
We're looking at outlier relationships when we're talking like 479K and stuff like that, with machinists. We're looking at extreme outliers. What would you say would be like a guideline for just the day-to-day relationships, the more rank and file one, as far as the current man-woman dynamic in the Black community, which obviously isn't working? Do you think that we should move more towards traditionalism outside of outlier situations, or what do you suggest that we do?
When you say traditionalism, what are you talking about?
I'm talking about male-led households, as it once was done before the feminism and things like that.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Because at the end of the day, there are certain masculine traits that a man should be ready to deal with anyway. When there's a bump in the night, you shouldn't be talking about tapping your woman, talking about some equal rights. No. You got because your wife has your last name. You don't have hers.
Sometimes they don't. That's
sometimes they don't. But you went in front of witnesses and said you're responsible for this woman.
Yeah, I agree.
So if you're responsible for this woman, you hear a bump in the night. Since you're responsible for the safety of this woman, you got to go down there and see what's going on, even if it costs you your life, or even if you have to take life.
Hello.
It is what it is.
Yeah.
So
we can hear you, Chantelle.
So that's a point. Now again, before the 0, before the 1, before you get a wife, you got to be a husband first, and before you're a husband, you got to be a man first. So a woman shouldn't choose a man who's not for marriage, who don't want to be a husband. So a man-led household is perfect, but now don't misunderstand me. A man would take wise counsel from his wife if he has it.
Absolutely.
But the ultimate decision is his.
Absolutely, especially if it matters dealing with children and household. Absolutely, and if she has a particular skill set, that's I mean, if she's of course has a degree in accounting or something like that, then she would be responsible for financial matters, and like Ruby with carpentry. So let me just read this right quick. Melanie, I appreciate 299. You say, "Are you sure you're not from New York, Ruby?" Just kidding. Um, so yeah, your accent has changed since you first started contacting us. I remember you was about and against, but yeah, I have noticed like a change in your accent.
I feel like you heard more Canadian than I speak, because you heard Canadian and you know the stereotypical Canadian accent, and you heard more of it than there was, because Ontario, because the West and the East are very stereotypical. It's where you get a lot of, the dynamics of what you think Canadians speak like. But here in Ontario, especially in the GTA, the Greater Toronto area,
Hmm.
it's not really quite like that. It's not, you know what I mean? When people come in from Alberta or something, you can tell the difference. They're very they say garage, and just they just have different ways of speaking than we do. I think we are more I'll say TV English with a tiny bit of Canadian. You can hear TV English Canadian versus TV English American, but there's just a little bit. I just think you heard more. If you go back and listen now, you'd be like, oh, it wasn't that bad.
Oh,
I hear
you know
your
something?
accent.
I probably just remember different. Like I remember more accent because I haven't
I
spoken to
hear
you in a
your
while.
accent, Ruby.
Hmm.
I
Oh,
hear
do
your
you?
Yeah, I hear it slightly.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's funny because only when I get angry does anyone hear that, I might be Jamaican, at all, right? Because there's some words that I'll say, right? But I don't speak patois, because when my mom got here, my grandmother beat patois out of her. And
Oh,
so I don't speak
Oh,
it.
crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
my
Literally beat her and said, never say it again. And my mom doesn't like pain. So that was the end.
my sister
Never
is
again.
actually my sister is Jamaican Canadian, and you speak exactly like her. Not seeing your
Hmm.
video, I'm thinking I'm speaking to my sister.
Yes, right? Yeah, I was thinking, I swear to God, I was looking, I'm like, you know what? You really remind me of my cousin. Just listening to the way that you speak and the way you look, you remind me so much of my cousin. It's like a familiarity thing. We
Yeah.
recognize each other. It's what it is. It's the Jamaicanness.
So thanks, Melody. Cichlid said towards Game Changer relationship channel, getting line beaches. Okay. So you don't know this, Chantelle, but the way I talk to sisterhood women is completely different than the way I talk to pygmies, as anybody who
Okay.
frequents my channel knows. So yeah, I'm a lot harder on I'm a lot harder on them. Pygmies are different. So fellas, y'all know how I am with the feminists and the fat chicks and all that type of stuff. But you know, pygmies are different and should be treated accordingly. That's always going to be my take on it. So yeah, I see what you're saying. But yeah, I mean, if a woman is not in line, because to be honest, I mean, I don't know what else to do. Maybe y'all have suggestions, because if you try to soft approach, then it just goes ignored, and if you try to hard approach, they just push back and call me misogynist and all kind of names, and
I
so
I I mean, for me, I just leave it as is. And I mean, I would encourage you to just share your story. And when she wants to hear it, she'll hear it. Those women who wants to hear it will hear it. But there's no approach you can take with someone who does not want to hear the information you're giving them.
True.
true, true. Um,
Hmm.
I do, and people say I shouldn't do it. I do try to, because I hear their message, so I go over there and I try to stop it from spreading. So I shouldn't do it, but I do it.
Mhm.
And I get into negative back and forth as a result of that.
Yeah.
Well, I would say this, and it's not really aimed at you specifically, because I came here. I wasn't, you've never been disrespectful towards me, right?
Hmm.
So and so therefore it's basically like rewarding good behavior. Well, if I don't come in, even if I disagree with you, as long as I'm not being disrespectful with it or putting you down or whatever, well, we should be able to just have a conversation.
Mhm.
But I do find that not everybody thinks like you. And that I do think is problematic, especially on the internet, because if what we're saying overall, right, for example, is okay, well, you want women who are not combative and who won't, cuss you out and won't this and won't that. And then when women are sitting there in the clouds and they're watching women get cussed out or put down or automatically attacked or whatever without doing anything wrong, well, then it's almost like, well, what's the reward for conversing that way? What's the reward for trying not to dip into those bad habits? So, I do think that there is something to be said about, first of all, and I know someone asked earlier, like, well, how do you tell the difference between someone who's faking and someone who's being genuine? So I think there is something to be said for kind of rewarding good behavior in a conversation, even, or, good behavior on the streets. And if the collective does that, well, then people will see, well, the only way I'm going to get spoken to or treated or whatever the way I want to is to be this way. Well, then I have to be that way. If that's the only way I can get the reward, well, then that's what I'm going to have to do. But as long as there's no real reward or, actual difference, then people aren't really motivated to change their behavior all that much. At least they get to vent and not feel weak by this and that and, all of the negative things they have going on in their heads.
Okay. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, there should be like a reward punishment system, and that's part of any form of leadership. Absolutely. So there was something I wanted to ask Chantelle before I left, but actually, I just want to make the statement, and that is, everybody knows that months ago, people were saying that I shouldn't allow women on my channel, blah, 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 because of this and this and this. Um, but just like you just said, Ruby, I push back on that for the reason that, that you just stated. Like there should be some type of reward. And not only that, at least here in the US, it's not the cultural norm as of yet for a woman to be a quote unquote pick me, or just simply a good woman. So because it's not, they're going against okay. So when I talk about, some of the relationships I had where, they were at home alone and they're constantly on the phone with their friends and their friends was really just pulling the relationship. So basically, the only way the relationship would have worked is that if she severed her relationship with her friends. I would not ask for a woman to do that and then dump her like 2 weeks later or something like that. That's not in my character. So I couldn't do that to the women in the channel because I'm basically asking that you turn your back on the teachings, not really on the women themselves, but the teachings of the majority of women in your life. And if you do that, I've got to give you, if you're turning your back on one thing, I got to give you a place as much as I can to turn your front to, like, there has to be some type of reward for it,
Right.
and that's what relationships and anything. So yeah, fellas, be prepared for pick-me's, basically. Understand that they're essentially refugees from a different culture, a very disruptive and destructive culture. So treat them better because they are better. They're better women. So that being said, I know that you got to get ready for dnieka Dope Discussions. Y'all check her out there. She'll be on at 6 Pacific. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, 6. Yeah, 6 Pacific.
Yeah, I'm here in Cali.
I do wanted to add though, we got to think of the end goal in mind. And what is your end goal? If your end goal is to build better Black communities, if to promote Black love, you do need to have more women who have that similar goal in mind on your channel. So it's not just, you don't want a channel where men are over here just venting about Black women and the sisterhood, you call them. And then,
Right.
we don't want a channel of a woman just saying, oh, these Black men ain't sugar honey iced tea. We do need to start having channels and platforms for us to come together, those who are on the path of pro Black love and pro Black families to come together and have healthy discussions like this one.
Absolutely, absolutely. So Jessica, she has your channel in the chat room. Fellas and ladies, go ahead and subscribe to that. Ruby, you want to take us home?
Do you want me to say baggage again? Because I already
Yes,
said
I
it.
do. You know I love the way you say baggage. You know I do.
Okay, baggage.
Yeah.
It's been a while. There you go.
Okay, I appreciate it. But your final thoughts. What are your final thoughts?
I love this discussion. I love when rather than having a bunch of people who have never been inside the culture or really experienced it, you actually have people who are talking from this outside perspective to kind of give you, a little bit more depth into it, because it's not as simple as, oh, well, in every other country but here things aren't like that, or in every other country, but it's like, well, no, everyone's got problems, everyone's got those complications. And I really appreciate you, Chantelle, for just even, like I said, I wasn't sure if is the way that I think, is it just a cultural thing or whatever. And so getting to talk to you about, our similarities and differences kind of showed me like, hey, some of these things, yeah, there's some culture base here, but there's also individual differences. So thank you very much. I really enjoyed this discussion, and thank you, GC, for letting me up.
Oh yeah, always, always. Okay, well, with that, I'd like to thank the Cash Apps and Super Chats. A special thank to Ike. That was a huge donation, so I appreciate it. The Cash Apps and Super Chats, the managers and moderators, those who are listening silently, and those who are participating in the chat. Make sure you hit that like button on your way out. Make sure that you subscribe to Chanel's channel, and make sure that you check her out later on dnieka Dope Discussion. It's it's going to be great like the last time. And yeah. And I'll see you there. Peace. This is Game Changer 00100. Game over. Peace. All right.